Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the Golf Course Lawn Show. My name is Ron Henry, and I'm here to help answer your lawn care questions. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. Super happy to have you here. Now, the way this works is really simple. On your screen, you will see a chat box. And in that chat box, you enter your question, concern, comment of the day, and I work through them in the order that they come in. Now, sometimes I have the answer, sometimes I do not, but either way, we have an awesome time talking about lawn care and sometimes life. Guys, it's been an interesting past couple of weeks. So, week before we had Hurricane Helene go through and, really, avoided most of Georgia for the most part, right? But then South Carolina and North Carolina got hit pretty badly. And then just a few days ago, we had a hurricane that went through South Florida, which is pretty nasty. So, hopefully everyone is doing well. Milton was no joke. I know weird enough, it didn't seem as bad as they were expecting, but still, a lot of people have a lot of damage to their property. So hopefully praying for speedy recovery for everyone. And, as the dust settles, hopefully, it's not as bad as everyone was hoping it was or was expecting it to be. So for the Golf Course Lawn Show, the way this works is really simple. We're coming to you guys on YouTube as our primary platform, but you can also be part of the show on Meta, on Facebook, as well as on Instagram. So if you guys want to be part of the show, I think I've got my streaming software working properly. We'll see if it holds out this weekend for those of you on Insta. And if you want to, feel free to drop your questions in there. Feel free to do that. The earlier in the live stream you drop your questions in, the better opportunity you have for them to be answered during the show. All right. So let's get rolling. All right. So first of all, let's take it for Super Chat. We got our first Super Chat this evening, kicking off Mr. Ninos Yohana. Thank you so much, sir.
Super Chat received.
He says, happy weekend. Round of drinks on me. Question: should we apply Essential G during the snow season in Chicago as well as your schedule calls for? If so, then what stops us from including the micronutrient blend and carbon kit? Great question, Ninos. So as far as Essential G, you can apply it as long as the ground is not snow covered or doesn't freeze where you are. That's likely not going to apply to you in Chicago. So once you get your first snow, you're pretty much going to be done with putting on any kind of a granular product. So this is not something that is specific to Essential G. It would also apply to fertilizer as well, right? So if you get snow on the ground, I would avoid applying really any granular products. And the same thing really would apply to the micronutrient blend of the carbon kit, because if the ground is covered in snow, the lawn is covered in snow, you're not really, you're wasting product. You're going to have suffer from a lot of runoff. So ideally, you want to, for Essential G, apply it to a lawn where the soil isn't frozen. And then when it comes to the carbon kit and also our micronutrient blend, I like to apply that as a foliar spray. Now, Miramichi does give options for applying it and watering the product in, but that's not really how I like to use it. I like to use it as a foliar. So unless the grass is actively growing, so you're regularly mowing your lawn, not a great idea, not a great use of product, in my opinion, to do so whenever the lawn's covered in snow. So typically during the winter months, if you're up north, we recommend avoiding it. Now, if you're in Georgia, like you're my neighbor next door, what you could do is Essential G you can pretty much apply year round. The carbon kit and micronutrient, once the grass goes dormant, I don't recommend it. I don't really apply those products to my lawn during the winter months. If you happen to have a fescue lawn in Georgia, your lawn's really never going to check out during the wintertime. So in that case, you could continue using foliar sprays and fertilizing it and all that stuff. So it really depends on where you are in the country and what kind of grass you have. Warm season turf grass in Georgia, wintertime, it's going to go dormant. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do foliar sprays, in my opinion. But as far as granular products, so like if you had to put down lime to do a pH adjustment, or if you wanted to use Essential G, that would be okay. All right, so great question, sir. Thank you so much for the super chat. We're going to get you up, sir, as our show sponsor. Let me get that done for you here. So there you go. Your name in lights for whatever that means to you. Really appreciate the super chat. Appreciate all the love and support. And if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. It's a good one. I like it. All right, next up, we got Mr. Jason Harrison in a live stream. He says, it's Friday and plans changed, so I'm here for the best show on YouTube. Got my soil test back. Think my top dressing material had some limestone in it. All good. I'll test again in February. So yeah, so Jason sent his soil test results in prior to the show. The big thing that was cool about his soil test results is that, oftentimes when it comes to recommending fertilizers, one thing I tell you guys pretty often is unless you have soil test results that show that you need phosphorus, you really want to avoid putting that into the soil in any immeasurable amounts. If you have like a spray that has a bit of phosphorus in it, that's not too bad, but really as far as any kind of granular fertilizer with phosphorus, you really want to avoid doing that, again, unless you have a soil test that shows that your soil is deficient in it. A great example of this is Jason's soil test, which he sent over to me yesterday. So I'll show you guys here really quick. And if you look, his phosphorus, this is the first macro that's shown up there, is showing up as high. Now keep this in mind, right? This soil test result was, a sample was pulled this month, and it was, and he added no phosphorus to his soils. In other words, he was using our program, you know, the program that we teach in the Golf Course Lawn Academy, which largely consists of fertilizers that contain nitrogen and potassium, but not really phosphorus, again, unless your soil test results called for it. And again, given that his soil already had adequate amounts of phosphorus, it just really shows, even throughout the year, without adding any, you see his phosphorus levels up here are still showing high, still more than sufficient. What he's also talking about is if you look at his calcium, that is showing high to excessive. And that is a new measurement that he's seeing in his soil test results. What we're thinking is when he did his top dressing, he's thinking the material that he may have brought in could have been high in calcium, which is why it's being reflected in his soil test results. So the plan is to test again, as he said, in February. We'll see how that works out, how it changes. But it really shows you how cool soil testing is. It's really inexpensive, and it gives you a lot of insight into how your nutrient program is working in your particular lawn, as well as give you guidance for the next year. So in his case, we look at his soil test results. He's really not going to have to add phosphorus next spring, highly unlikely. Now, granted, he could do another test then and take a look, but highly unlikely he's going to have to add any phosphorus to his lawn care program next year. And everything else looks pretty good. We'll also see if that calcium drops off, as we go through the winter months. Because again, that did not used to be like that before. That happened after his top dressing. So we'll see, right? He has the data. We'll be able to track it and see how the lawn adjusts. Very, very cool. Jason, again, thank you so much for sending that in. Really do appreciate it. It's always cool to show folks, when I talk about soil testing, doing it at the beginning of the season to set your program for the year, and then testing at the end of the season around this time of year just to measure a couple of things. One, where your soil pH is to see if you need to make adjustments over the winter months. And then second, to measure the effectiveness of your program. There's a couple of folks that sent me soil test results and their macros are reading low across the board, right? But the lawn looks great. So one thing they're saying is, well, even though the program worked well, the lawn looked incredible, got tons of compliments about it. What I was putting down obviously wasn't enough to be able to build up nutrient level in the soil. So next year, with that data, they can now know that, hey, I'm going to increase, the amount of granular fertilizer I'm putting down, by 10, 20%, and then measure that and see if that makes a difference that's reflected in the soil test data. So really, really cool. Thanks again, Jason. Really do appreciate it. All right, we have another super chat. This one's from Mr. Archie Amos. Archie's in the live stream.
Super chat received.
He's ready to accept LG challenge from a couple of weeks ago. Raise me, LG. Very, very cool. Archie, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate the super chat. I'm not sure if LG's around. He's kind of a mystical guy. He kind of pops in, pops out whenever he feels like it. We haven't. I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and to your point, we haven't seen him again since. So we'll have to see if he makes it into the live stream. All right, so what we'll do is, because Ninos just became the show sponsor, I'm going to let both of you guys let that ride until, say, the 8 o'clock hour for an hour or so, and then we'll switch it only to you, Archie. Hopefully, you don't mind. Again, I appreciate the super chat, appreciate all the love and support. Next up is Ninos. He has a comment here. He says, very excited. I declared freedom from the shackles of hoses. Now, that's a really cool way of saying, hey, I installed an irrigation system, right? You got to clap it up for that. You got to give him some dap for that. Some new equipment, right? I installed a 7 zones hunter system today, but my lawn is full of scratches. Hey, man, it's got to get worse to get better. So I would not sweat it. It's well worth it. The time of year to do it is now. You figure next year, in the spring, the lawn will be largely healed up, and then when the heat gets here, it'll grow in and look incredible. You don't realize how much of a game changer having an irrigation system is from being able to really tailor your watering. And I imagine if you got any of the modern systems, they're going to have an app on your phone too. You can turn the zones on and off, which is really, really convenient. So again, congrats on that. And sorry that your lawn is looking a little abused right now, but it's all for the better. So very, very cool, sir. Keep us posted as far as how it does. Really appreciate the super chat again. And again, thanks for all the love and support. All right, Stephen Wynn is up next. He says, happy Friday, everyone. Hope you are all okay from that storm down there. Yeah, so in the case of Georgia, we didn't get anything from Milton. It was primarily Helene a week ago or so, and that for the most part missed us. It went more east and got South Carolina and North Carolina. So Georgia, for the most part, or at least where I am in Northeast Georgia, we didn't get a whole lot from that storm, other than a bit of rain, some wind for a few hours, but it wasn't anything really to write home about. So far, we've been very, very fortunate. So hopefully that's it for the year for hurricanes, right? The country's had enough. All right, next up is Ninos. He says, I started to like Ron, so one day I will take on your challenge. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, next up, we have Curly Head Dude. Curly Head Dude is in the live stream, and it says, hey, Ron, or Ryan, I'll take it. I've been called worse. He says, sprayed cyan insecticide and Taurus SC on 10.5. Now I'm seeing dead and live Japanese beetles along with June bugs. Should I go behind them with a celloprint for grubs? One of two, so the first part. And then, so first of all, no. If you already applied an insecticide, I wouldn't go out and do another one. And then second, I've already beat armyworms this season twice, and now I'm seeing crows pick at my soil/grass. No sign of damage to the grass, nor does it pull up easily. I cut at 1 1/4 inches. Very cool. Yep. So it sounds like you already put down an insecticide. My personal choice when it comes to insecticides is a celloprint. I like it for a number of reasons. One, it takes care of all the lawn damaging insects that you mentioned. So the turf caterpillars, like armyworms, as well as grubs and a host of other lawn damaging insects. And as far as being environmentally conscious or more beneficial, I could say, and a celloprint is a great choice. So you've already applied one. I wouldn't follow it up with a celloprint. I would let what you have ride and go from there. You don't want to really overdo it when it comes to insecticides. Like most things, like more isn't always better. You want to use what you have. You already put an insecticide down. That seems to be to producing the results you're after. So I don't really see the need to go out and double up. All right, Killer Clips is up next. It's Friday night lawn care time. Woohoo! All right, man. You know you're a lawn care nerd when you're tuning in on Friday night to be able to hang out and chat about lawn care. Really, really cool. Guys, so it's funny, the weather is definitely getting cooler. Like today it was 54 degrees, it cooled off quite a bit. And I mowed before the live stream, and I mowed the entire, like the front and back. And as far as, I used the Greensmaster 1600, and as far as the amount of clippings that came off, like I had mowed the entire thing, and it was beneath a quarter. So hardly anything is coming off the lawn. It's really slowed down. That last application of Primo and a new EZ, still appears to be working because the lawn it's just shut down. One, the weather's cooler, but then also the last growth regulator application really shut down as far as any additional growth in the lawn. So at this point, I'm in the point in the season where I could probably go. I mean, it pains me to say this, like maybe once every 4 or 5 days I could mow then, and likely not a whole lot would still come off. So we'll see. We'll see if I can make myself do that. Probably won't be able to. But given the growth rate of the lawn, I likely could get away with it. Been seeing some mole action though, so stay tuned for that. I got some more traps. We're gonna have to go to war with the mole, and hopefully it heeds the warning, because a lot of his kinfolk have come before and didn't work out too well for him. So we'll see how it works out. All right, Sundria is up next. Says, happy Friday, Ron. What is a good product to use to cut down on watering the grass? Great question, Sandria. So an excellent product to reduce the amount of watering you have to do in your lawn is a moisture manager called Hydrotain. So if you go to the golf course lawn store, go to shop, and then soil moisture management. You got a couple different options here. If you're strictly looking for just a moisture manager that's going to give you, an extended coverage or in order for it to work as long as possible, going with Hydrotain, either in liquid or granular form, is a great choice. If you're looking to address a localized dry spot in your lawn, then Foreplay, which is another product from Ecologel, is a good choice. So any of these would work. If all you care about is reducing watering requirements, Hydrotain either liquid or granular. Either one of these is what I would go with. A pro tip is if you go with the liquid, you can use the quart, the hose end sprayer, and then when you run out of this, just simply buy a gallon and just keep refilling this with the gallon product, because this is already metered to put the product out with quite a bit of water when you're putting it on the lawn. So a good way to apply it is just to simply refill this guy from a gallon container. So just a little tip there in case you decide to go the liquid route. Now, when it comes to applying hydrotain for best results, you are going to water it in. So I want to water it in immediately after application. So ideally, the lawn should be damp, the turf should be damp, and then you'll apply it, and then right after applying it, you water it in. So what a lot of people like to do is apply the product in the morning, early morning, when there's already dew on the lawn. Apply it and then run an irrigation cycle afterwards. You can apply it, later on in the day when the lawn's dry, but what I would say is run a short irrigation cycle first, get some moisture on the lawn, apply hydrotain, and then water it in immediately afterwards. If you go the granular route, as long as you put some water on it within 2 days, you're fine. So the liquid has a requirement that you water it in immediately after application. The granular, you can apply it and then water it in, the following morning if that's more convenient for you, which is why I primarily go with the granular. I use the liquid for one localized area this year, but primarily the granular is what I go with. But both are equally effective. Just really depends on what's more convenient for you. So if you're looking to pick that up, Sundria, you can grab it right here in the Golf Course Lawn Store. That's the link to the collection page where you can get either hydrotain in granular or liquid form. Appreciate the question, and hopefully that gets you all squared away. All right, Stephen Wynn says, Ron, let me get some of them shirts. Man, I need to get that's one of the things that's on my to-do list now that things are slowing down, is to get the merch store going. One of you guys, or not one of you guys, some of you guys have asked for tumblers, shirts. So one of the things I'm going to get done this fall is to get that going, get some shirts done and get some tumblers, some Golf Course Lawn Store tumblers. If you want to be able to, sip on your beverage in style while you're on your lawn, we're gonna be able to take care of you, as well as some shirts. Also gonna be able to take care of you as well from that standpoint as well too. So bear with me. It's just I got a lot going on, and I'm just just takes a while to get all that going. So again, stay posted. More to come. All right, next up is Adam Starks. Adam Starks, no relation to Tony Starks, but he says, "Good evening, Ron and crew. Send an email with a picture of a weed, I think. Can you tell me what it is and how to get rid of it? Thanks as always." Do I have a picture from you, Adam? I don't know, man. Here's the thing. What helps you guys get your pictures on the show or improves the likelihood of it is to send it prior to the show starting, because then I can get them all queued up. Typically, like for example, Jason's picture, his image, I had that done ahead of time because he sent it to me before. But if you do it during the show, it's harder to do so. This looks like Bermuda grass to me, Adam. That's not nice. Calling it a weed, it looks a lot like Bermuda. So let's see here. Adam 1, and we'll get the other one up here. Give me 1 sec. All right, so this is picture 1 of what he sent in. And again, to my eye, that looks quite a lot like Bermuda. So I'm not sure what kind of lawn you have, Adam, but you could have some Bermuda in it. That's what that looks like to me. So, if you want some options for getting rid of it, you have to let me know what kind of grass you have, and I can give you some. But again, looks like Bermuda. But yeah, appreciate you sending that in, and hopefully that helps. Now, as far as how to get rid of it, it depends on the kind of grass you have. You didn't tell me what kind of grass you have, so it makes it a bit more challenging. If you have zoysia, you can use recognition and fusillade. If you have St. Augustine, you can use recognition and fusillade to control it. But again, without knowing what kind of grass you have, you get cool-season grass. You can use a couple of rounds of Pilex. That will help control Bermuda. But again, I have to know what kind of grass you have to be able to give you some options for getting rid of it. On the topic of hurricane damage, Greg sent some pictures in last week. I didn't get to show them on the live stream then because I got them after the show ended. And to show you an example of what Helene did, this is his lawn, right after the storm. You can see the huge mess it made. He's out there cleaning it up. getting everything cleaned up. And then this is what he was working with after the cleanup and then putting a fresh cut on it. So lawn went from that to that over the course of, a few hours, him cleaning it up and then putting a nice mow on it. So very nice work, sir. Just shows that if your lawn gets damaged from the hurricane, you get a lot of debris on it. It's just a matter of getting some elbow grease out there and getting it done, getting it all cleaned up. All right, next up is Curly Head Dude. Says you're in Dallas Fort Worth, by the way. Cool. Yep, doesn't really change the answer as far as insecticide. You already applied it, so I really wouldn't again double up on it. If especially since you've based on what you're saying, you're already getting good results from the products that you applied. I just wouldn't double up on it. If you don't want to overdo it when it comes to insecticides. Don't really overdo it when it comes to anything, but really any of the sides. All right, Jason Carney says, how the heck are you? And go dogs. Well, here's the thing I will say, Jason, is, with the dogs, they are a tough team. They are a tough team to love. They're a tough team to love. The one thing we can give them is that while we did lose to Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, which could have been worse. So yeah. Anyway, the question you do have is this. He says, on your PGR schedule, at the first of every month, do you apply the same rate regardless, or do you use growing degree days to know when and how much you need to reapply? Great question, Jason. I use the same rate throughout the season. So every 2 weeks, I am spraying a combination of Primo Max and a new EZ. So these two guys together, I spray them at half rate. So on the first, and then again, every couple of weeks, I'm reapplying Primo and a new EZ. That works well for me, produces a great result. If you want to see the rates that I use, I've got a blog post all about plant growth regulation that covers the rates and everything, and it gives you an idea as to what I do and the kind of results that it can produce. So hopefully this is helpful for you. Now, when it comes to growing degree days, using that as a tool for timing your growth regulator apps, you already know this, but that is the most accurate way of doing it. The problem is, as far as teaching someone that or putting out guidance that anyone can follow, it doesn't scale well for a broad audience. And frankly, applying every 2 weeks, I've had great results with. Countless others have also done that throughout the season and have also had great results with it. So while growing degree days is more accurate, if you're applying at half rate every couple of weeks, I have not found it to really be necessary. Like in many ways, you're overcomplicating something that doesn't need to be more complicated than it needs to be for your typical homeowner, your typical lawn enthusiast, right? So I hope that helps. This is the blog post I'm talking about. Let's see if you're still here. I don't know if you're still here in the live stream, Jason, but if you are, here you go. Actually, I'll post it here, so even the folks on Meta and Instagram can also get it. PGR blog, that guy right there. So hopefully that helps. So you guys will be all squared away as far as how well it does. As far as how I like to go about applying growth regulator. And the nice thing about that blog post is, I'll actually show you guys here really quickly. Not only does it talk about what plant growth regulator is, it talks about the benefits of using it, how it can help your lawn from a standpoint of just making it hardier, the color of the lawn that you can get. Now, guys, here's the thing. I just lost power, so we'll see how long my UPS stays up for. The everything right now is running off of my UPS in the network closet and also here. So we shall see. Live stream might get cut a bit short. But at any rate, it talks about Primo, what's in it, how it works, and the timing on it. And a new EZ, same thing, talks about the active ingredient, how it works, and then how to use them together. So totally worth checking out, totally worth reading if you're looking for a great blog post on how to use growth regulator with great results. All right. Next up, we'll keep going as long as the power goes. Next up is Squid Vicious. Squid Vicious is in the live stream. He says, 1,400 square feet, somewhat neglected Bermuda lawn down to the dirt in the spring. Would it be beneficial to add two 30-pound bags of humichar in the off season, or should I wait until after the renovation? Either way would work, Squid. I'd say, why not both? You can, while you can apply humichar, now in the off season, I would also consider doing it as part of your renovation project next year. I mean, the product isn't that expensive, so doing an application now and then another one in the springtime whenever you do your renovation, there'd really be no negative to doing so. I think of it along the lines of how I treat Essential G. As long as the ground doesn't freeze where you are, if you want to put it down, not going to hurt anything to do so. So frankly, given that you're only dealing with 2 bags and it's 1,400 square feet, I would do both. So hope that helps, sir. Great question. If you have anything else, let me know. All right, Jason, and we'll also save Jason's question as well. All right. All right, next up, we have Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy's in the live stream. He says, happy Friday, Ron. Still recovering from a rough Wednesday night here in Tampa. Dude, glad to hear you're doing okay. He says, haven't cut the zoysia since Tuesday. We'll be back on track tomorrow. No more hurricanes. Fingers crossed for you, man, that we have no more hurricanes. But yeah, glad that you're safe. I guess you rode the storm out because you're still in Tampa. And I had some people that I work with that live in Tampa, and they left. They left. They came up north, and then they were driving back today. So yeah, I'm glad. Sounds like you're all right because you're on the live stream, and hopefully there's not too much damage in your area, and that the lawn does okay. All right. Next up, we got Jason. Let's see here. It's Jason Carney. He says, I understand applying fungicide in the spring helps your lawn, but could you explain the reason why applying it in the fall for spring green up? Thanks. Yeah, so great question, Jason. So why I apply fungicide in the fall really doesn't have anything to do with spring green up. What it has to do with is preventing spring dead spot. So the fungicide applications that we do in May, June really are about preventing large patch, spring patch, large patch diseases that we tend to have in the summertime, whenever conditions are hot and also quite humid. And then the application that we do in the fall, the one that we do now, is really about preventing spring dead spot. So if you reduce the amount of nitrogen going into the lawn now, and you also apply a fungicide, that does a lot for preventing and keeping spring dead spot out of the lawn. Actually, it looks like it, guys, it sounds like a breaker trip. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go and reset that. In the meantime, I will put some intermission music on for you guys. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Crisis averted. All right, so hopefully that helps, Jason, as far as to why, right? So the fall fungicide app is really all about preventing spring dead spots. So that's why I recommend it in the fall. And also for folks that don't have warm season turf grass, by doing a fungicide app in the fall, so you have cool season lawn, also helps with preventing diseases that tend to plague cool season lawns, like snow mold. So there's benefits to both cool season and warm season lawns for doing a fall fungicide application. All right, next up is, I think I've already got Squid Vicious's comment. Next up, we got Mr. Ryan Contento. He says, happy Friday, Ron. Really starting to cool down here in coastal North Carolina, but can't complain. Yeah, man, I noticed it today. It was cool out. It was cool out. Again, in the 50s, just kind of nice, pretty pleasant. Out mowed the lawn before the show and didn't break a sweat at all, which is kind of nice. But the negative is the lawn really is slowed down. Not a whole lot's coming off of it. It's not really growing. But it's, to your point, it's a welcome time of year. It's nice to be able to slow down for a little bit and enjoy some quiet time. Next up, we have a great question. This is from Mr. Steven Wynn. He says, how long should you wait for soil testing after using a granular fertilizer? Great question, Steven. What I like to do is recommend that you wait 3 to 4 weeks from the last time you did a granular fertilizer input before you do another soil test, before you pull cores for a soil test. Reason being is if you were to go out and say apply a fertilizer tomorrow, and then 3 or 4 days later you go out and pull cores to take to get a soil sample done, very likely the fertilizer you just put out are going to bias or they're going to influence the results you get from your soil test. So if you give it 4 weeks between the last time you did a granular fertilizer input and then you pull cores for a soil test, you're going to get a pretty accurate reading. So I'd give it 4 weeks is what I would say to go with. Great question. It's a good one, man. It's a good one. It's one we've had before, but it bears repeating because it's one that that folks often have when it comes to, hey, how should I time my my soil testing schedule? All right, so we got you here, Archie. I think you are. It's been long enough. We're gonna put you up as the only show sponsor. I think we got another super chat coming in here, but I wanna put a little bit of respect on your name first. Make sure you have your name in lights as is justly due. So thanks so much. There you go, Archie. And next up, we have Antoine Clacken. He says, happy Friday, everyone. Hope everyone is safe from all these damaging storms. Family first, lawn second. I get it, man. That's a good motto, Antoine. Thanks for jumping in the live stream and stopping by to say hello. I really do appreciate it. All right, so we have a couple more super chats. Let's go and knock those out really quick. This first one here is from Mr. Cedric G. Cedric G's in the house.
Super chat received.
He says, Big Ron, my lawn is getting sleepy and headed for night-night in a couple of weeks. What about your golf course? It's starting to slow down as well too, man. So the same thing you're experiencing, I am also experiencing. The temperatures are cooling off. That last growth regulator app is, in my opinion, still working because I mowed the entire lawn. Hardly anything is coming off of it. So it's definitely slowing down. And the color is coming out of the lawn. You know what I mean? It's a time of year. We're coming into mid-October, so the lawn is doing what it is supposed to be doing. So if you're experiencing that as well, it sounds like you are right on track. Thank you so much for the super chat, sir. I think you are our highest contributor at this point, so that makes you the show's sponsor. So there you go. Your name in lights, whatever that means to you. Really do appreciate it. And we have another super chat. This one from Mr. Lance F.
Super chat received.
He says, just got back from Clarksville, Tennessee, visiting the grandkids, mowed my first 4,000 square foot Bermuda grass coming from my Kentucky bluegrass. That turf is a beast. Grows everywhere. Just got back just in time to watch the show. Yeah, Bermuda, here's the thing, Lance, and I don't understand it, but in some parts of the country, even in the Southeast, Bermuda is considered a weed. It's considered invasive. People try and go through all kinds of methods to get rid of it. Kind of painful, kind of hurts my heart. And, as you said, it's pretty, as you noted yourself, very aggressive grass. You know what I mean? You put it out and it will, it will go everywhere. Bermuda finds a way. It's probably the best way of saying it. Whether you got pavers, you got, I've seen it grow in cracks of concrete. It'll go pretty much anywhere. So then that also is a good aspect of the grass if you have it for a lawn, right? So as far as a grass that just wears really well, so you can use it and it just handles abuse really well. Bermuda is really good for that. The negative is that it can be challenging to keep it where you want it and where you don't want it because it's very aggressive, especially if you are dealing with it in the summer months when it gets hot. It just really lights off like wildfire. And it's tough to keep it where you want to keep it. Again, thank you for the super chat. Glad you made it back safe. And if you need anything else, do let me know. All right. Next up, we have J-Boy. He says, thinking about spring, what Bermuda seed would you recommend to replace Arden? Long and short of it is, J-Boy, I wouldn't. You know what I mean? Most people that try and grow a Bermuda lawn from grass seed are doing so because they think it's going to be less expensive than going the sod route. And the thing you have to realize is that most Bermuda grass seed cultivars, other than Arden 15 or Princess 77, which are no longer available, are really just improved commons. So they're not going to usually be as fine as the leaf you get from a true hybrid Bermuda, like Celebration, like Tifway, like Tahoma 31. And then as far as getting it to grow in, if you were to go out and renovate the lawn, put out Bermuda grass seed, it's not like it all grows in evenly. There's going to be some areas that are going to go in faster and better and thicker than others. So as far as a way to go from no lawn to the lawn you want, sod is a much more effective way to go, in my opinion. It's you are going to get a better choice as far as grass cultivars, and you literally go from no lawn to lawn overnight. And another thing you have to keep in mind is while sod does need to be watered for it to establish, like Bermuda grass seed, you really got to keep the soil hydrated. So the one thing that people don't realize is that the cost of growing or renovating a lawn, or even growing overseeding a lawn with Bermuda grass seed, is as the watering demands. It's very expensive. So for all those reasons, I really wouldn't recommend it. As far as grass seeds that are pretty popular these days, Monaco, Yukon are pretty popular Bermuda cultivars. But if I were going to reestablish a lawn from scratch and I'm going with Bermuda, I would look at Tifway 419. I would look at Celebration. I would look at Tahoma 31. Like all those cultivars that are available in sod form is where I try to push you versus trying to grow the lawn in via grass seed. So hope that helps, sir. If you have any other questions, do let me know. But yeah, really, there's not one that I'd recommend with Arden 15 and Princess 77. No more. All right, next up, we got Devin in the live stream. What's going on, Devin? Hopefully you're doing well, man. He says, what's up, Ron? Looking forward to some good turf talk. Just did my fall soil test today. Curious to see if my adjustments worked from last fall's test. Very cool, man. Yeah, keep us posted. Keep us posted. And if you want, Devin, if you want to, once you get your results back, if you want to come on and share them, or, if you want to send them to me and have me share them, either way can work. But yeah, it'd be cool to, see what your, how your lawn has changed over the season, given all the input that you're doing. I know you do a lot of the stuff that's, or use products from the golf course lawn store, but you also have all your secret sauce that, that you also use, that you have access to, given that you're a golf course super. So it'd be interesting to see what your soil looks like. All right. Next up, we have a super chat. This one is from Mr. Simple Cash Offer. Let's get this one down real quick.
Super chat
He
received.
says, I put down leftover headway and Carbon Pro G. Should I spray one last 22-3 with Primo and spread your stress blend? It's not a bad decision to make this time of year, Simple Cash Offer. If the lawn is beginning to slow down, if you want to do a liquid app, do your growth regulator app. There's not really a negative to doing so. I did my last growth regulator app the beginning of this month. And then as far as the stress blend, if you've not put out a granular fertilizer this month as yet, that would be a good choice. So the short answer to your question is yes. Like what you're doing makes a whole lot of sense to me. And I see no issues with it at all. Now, guys, we are 40 minutes into the show. If you guys are enjoying it, I'd really appreciate it if you guys can hit the like button. We got 87 people here in the live stream tonight. So if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button ever so gently, I would really appreciate it. Costs you absolutely nothing, and it is a free way to support the channel. Like, how many things can you do in life that are free and help support somebody else? This is one of those things, hitting the like button, right? So go ahead and get that done if you have not done so as yet. And if you're feeling especially generous, subscribe while you're at it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, it's absolutely worth doing so. So like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. All right, Mac042, he says, hey man, Julian, I finally made it to Friday Night Lights tonight. Thanks for your advice today about my soil test. You're very welcome, Julian. Glad to see you took some time out. You were able to make it here this evening on the live stream. I appreciate you. And Antoine leading the charge as well, saying, as always, hit that like button. All righty. Next up, Mr. Andre Taylor. This is evening, Ron, and golf course lawn community. Ron, any idea how to help prevent turf burning caused by the sun rays reflecting off of windows? So I've heard about a film, Andre, that you can put on the inside of the window that stops that prevents that. I need to find the name of it because there's a local viewer here that was having that problem, and they used that film, and it did make a difference. Now the negative is it almost behaves like as far as the clarity of you seeing through the window, you can still see through it, but it is a film. It does cut down on the amount of light that also comes in. So that's the one thing you have to consider. The stuff looks almost like almost like a mini lattice work. Like if you ever look at, the back of a window of a car, like where the like along the edges where the defroster attaches, there's almost like dots all around that section of the glass. It looks something like that. So it is going to, while it's going to cut down on the glare, the reflection, it's also going to reduce like how clear it is for you to see through the glass as well. So you have to ask yourself, whether that's worth it or not for you. I'll reach out to him and find out the name of the product and what it's called, but there is something you can do for that. There's it's a film you stick to the inside of the glass. Something else you could do as well too, if you have a local tint shop, like a local commercial like window film shop nearby, they'll likely have it or know what I'm talking about, and they'll be able to get it to you as well. So that's another option as well. Like look for, not like an auto tint, look for like a commercial glass tint, glass frosting shop, and they should have this product. All right, next up is Rad1986 says, "Hey Ron, happy Friday. So my newly leveled and overseeded KBG lawn is looking great. I sent you some pictures of before and after. I'm happy with the work that went into it." Let's see, do I have any pictures from you, Ryan? I do, and they are massive. I'm not sure we're gonna be able to get this on the live stream. No wonder you broke it up into multiple images, because they are huge. They're huge. Let me see if I can get one more here. Let's see. Maybe. We shall see. We'll try. So we get this up, get this picture on here. So before, these are both the same thing. So yeah, Ryan, if you can send, because the pictures that you sent are both the same. Oh no, I see here. No, there's two pictures. That's why I didn't see it. All right. So I think we've got it solved here. So before and, oh my goodness gracious. Whoa, wow. Oh yeah, we got to show that. That's worth it. Goodness gracious, man. Looks good. All right, so let's go before and then after. And antes y después. Okay, so these two look pretty good. Hopefully my software will load them, because they are a bit big. All right, so this is what he's working with before. Lawn does look leveled. It is, nice and smooth, and it looks like it's growing in there quite nicely. That's the before, and then the after is, now here's the thing, guys. Before I put the after up, if you guys don't have some sunglasses, if there's any kids looking at the screen without any kind of eye protection on, make sure they step back a little bit, because we're gonna go from this. Actually, I'm gonna give you guys a second. Make sure you get your eye pro on. Everyone good? All right, so we're gonna go from this to that. Pretty incredible change. That's pretty awesome, man. Very, very nice, sir. Now, we got to give you extra points for the nice trim pass, the double wide stripes. Looking good, man. Looking really good. Your hard work absolutely paid off, and it really, you can tell the preparation was really well done. The lawn looks nice, like it was nicely leveled, really smooth. Overall looks really nicely done, and then pretty tough to not produce an amazing result like that. So awesome. Great work. It's only going to get better as the season progresses. Next year it's going to be even better, because you're starting from an awesome spot. Again, hopefully I gave everyone enough time to get some good, some eye pro on, because you don't want, you want to be blinding folks with that kind of stripe action. Looking really good. Awesome work, sir. We're going to clap it up for you. Nicely done. Before and after. Very awesome. Love it. Okay, and to give us some more detail about it, he says, "I'm currently cutting at 1 inch with an Ego Select Cut and a stripe kit. I want to get me a fancy battery-powered reel mower, but there's not a lot of options, especially because I live in Canada." And then next up, you said you're debating between the Allet Sterling or a Swordman Electra. Any input, as both have pros and cons. Also, thanks for your help along the way. No worries at all, Rad. Ryan, you did all the hard work. And again, the lawn looks incredible. Between those two, between an Electra and the Sterling, to your point, they both have challenges, right? The Sterling, though, is the one that I would go with out of those two. If budget is really no option, like you really don't care between as far as like cost goes, the Sterling is the way I would go. In my opinion, the mower is a bit better built than the Electra. It's a newer design. So if, again, money's no object, because the Sterling is going to be quite a bit more expensive, that is the way that I would go. And the thing is, too, with you have your property doesn't look like it's too big, or at least what you're showing here in the pictures is not massive. So that's a perfect size lawn, really, for a mower like the Sterling. Like, you're not going to have trouble maintaining that. You're not like you're trying to mow 12,000 square feet like my lawn with it, to where you're really just going to be beating the machine up a lot. Like, that's not going to take you very long to mow. And I think you'd be very happy with the results you get out of electric real mower on a lawn like that. Because here's the thing, if it looks like this already, looks this good being cut with a rotary, when you put a real mower on it, I don't think you're ready for it. I really don't think you're ready for it. It's going to be a whole nother level of awesome, because this looks incredible. Take it up like 2 to 3 times better. It's going to tighten up. It's going to look so much better, man. I can't even put it into words. And really, what I would tell you is this: if you decide to go, or when you decide to go with a real mower, you're mowing it 1 inch, take it down like 3/4 of an inch. You don't even have to go super low. Just go from like a 1 inch to 3/4. And just the fact that you're cutting with that real mower a little bit shorter you're gonna love the way that looks, man. It's gonna look absolutely insane. I mean, your neighbor is already, you're already making your neighbor look pretty bad. You start real mowing that, it's gonna be something else, man. So really awesome, great work, really do appreciate it. Again, we got to give you claps up for that. Well done. All right, next up, Mr. Jared George is in the live stream. He says, I didn't expect that. What do I do now? I'm not sure what your question is, George. Maybe they came out of order, so we'll go here first. He says, scout my backyard down and put out perennial seed, peat moss, and been watering regularly. Dormancy has finally been showing on both yards. Not seeding the front. My backyard, though, the Bermuda is coming back. Huh. So it's not really going dormant then. So you scalped the lawn, the Bermuda you thought was going dormant, but it's still warm enough where you are that the Bermuda is still growing in. So here's what I would say, Jared. Assuming the ryegrass hasn't started germinating as yet, if you're trying to slow down the Bermuda to prevent it from like growing in and becoming really thick and pretty much making it more difficult for the ryegrass to establish, use some growth regulator, use some Primo. If you don't have any of this, get some Primo, get some Inu Easy, use some growth regulator to slow down the growth rate of that Bermuda. That's going to give the ryegrass like a competitive advantage to be able to grow in and establish before the Bermuda thickens up and just makes it more difficult. The ryegrass should establish either way, but if it way you're describing, and it sounds like it's really coming in with a vengeance, and in which case we want to slow that down. So growth regulator is what I would recommend as a tool to slow down the Bermuda while you're letting the perennial ryegrass begin to establish and be the dominant grass, at least over the fall and winter months. So good question, sir. Glad that your overseed done, and keep us posted as far as how that works out for you. Especially in springtime rolls around, you have to get rid of it. That's the part, right? All right. So next up, we have let's see what we got here. We got J Boy says still mowing in Texas, but growth is slower. Yeah, same thing. I'm mowing here in Georgia, and the growth is practically non-existent. It's still growing some, but not very much. And then Curly Head Dude says 54. Brr, I need 65 or higher. No, I hear you, man. Like, again, I'm originally from the Caribbean, so really anything in the 60s is officially cold. And 54 felt a bit nippy, but it was nice. It was nice out. You get out there, you can mow in the lawn and not sweat, which is kind of a cool thing. All right, Nick Barone, or Baroni, I think is correct. He says, hey, Ron, I overseeded my turf-type tall fescue. My overseeded turf-type tall fescue is dying in my lawn. Some existing Bermuda is dying too. Can that impact the turf-type tall fescue? Or is there another problem? Aerated with a hollow tine, and that went okay-ish, but it was a bit crunchy like gravel. So if I understand what you're saying is you aerated the lawn, you overseeded, and then the fescue started to go in, and then it died off. It's hard to say, Nick. I mean, it could be a lack of water. It could be, I'm not sure when the country you are, it could be a temperature thing. It could be a nutrient thing, because you didn't mention if whether or not you put out fertilizer or anything whenever you did your overseeding project. So it could be a host of problems, and it's hard to, without getting more details, know exactly what it is. To help you with that, if you want some guidance on that topic, actually this week we released a blog post on the topic of aeration and overseeding. So if you go to the Golf Course Lawn Store, go to resources, and then go to blog, the newest one is on the topic of aeration and overseeding. Why these two practices go hand in hand for optimal lawn health. So it talks about the times of year if you're going to seed a warm season lawn or establish a warm season lawn, aka hard mode, from scratch. When is a good time of year to do that? And then for this time of the year, when you're overseeding a cool season lawn to help thicken it up, or you're overseeding a warm season lawn to have it be green throughout the winter, also covers that as well. So it talks about what aeration is, what are the benefits of aeration, what overseeding is, the correct aeration techniques, timing as far as when to aerate and overseed, and then some guidance as far as how to go about getting a great result, along with supporting products. So hopefully you'll find this useful, Nick. This was literally just came out today. It's not even a day old yet. It's about maybe 12 hours old at this point. But I will link that blog to you, and you can give that a look, because it's likely one of those reasons is why you you got some germination, but then the grass seed died out afterwards. Oftentimes, it's lack of watering. Well, lack of watering is one of the biggest reasons why people have issues with grass seed not establishing well. So here you go. Let's see here. Overseeding and aeration blog. So hopefully this works well for you, sir. And there we go. And actually, I'll post it here so that both the folks on the gram and on Meta can also benefit from it as well. Good stuff. All right. Next up, we have Adam Starks. He says, I got Bermuda, so it belongs, thanks. Yeah, it's if you have Bermuda, it looks like you just have some sections that are just growing in a little thicker. You know what I mean, Adam? Like this is not, let's see here. This is not uncommon for it to look after when you start using growth regulator, because you see how tight it is, how tight it's beginning to grow in, how the leaves are beginning to grow in with not a ton of stem. So if you started using PGR, that could be part of why the Bermuda looks like that. All right, let's see here. Sizzler actually says, I got Bermuda grass. It may be a different type because I planted another type when I had a tree remove. By the way, love the 12024. Yeah, so if you put out some Bermuda grass seed, it could be just a different cultivar. I mean, I don't know if it looks kind of commonish, to be honest with you, Adam. I don't want to kind of ruin your parade, but it looks like common Bermuda. So it very well could be that, and especially if it looks very different to your existing lawn, there's unfortunately not a whole lot you can do about it. If you got like a small area, you can try pulling it out, but it's more than likely just going to come back. Like once Bermuda's in your lawn, it's pretty tough to get rid of. Glad to hear that the 12024 is working well for you. That is, my fertilizer of choice for this time of year. And it's, as far as a great option for closing out the season when it comes to a warm season lawn, it's really tough to beat the 12024. So I will, if I can get this to load for you guys. I'm not sure. I think it's the streaming software is the challenge I'm having, but this guy right here, this is great option for this time of year. Great option. Great winterizer type fertilizer for both warm and cool season turf grass. So good stuff. And I'll even throw that in the chat for you guys just so you have it. So there you guys go. So you'll have the same stuff that Adam is referring to. There we go. And I'm going to remove this one because that post is broken. All right. Okay. Next up is Sizzler. He says low 70s daytime, high 50s, low 60s at night. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely cooling off, which is about right for this time of year. Jared George is giving us a little bit more info, guidance on what's going on with his lawn. He says, I have to mow early in the morning at 7 a.m. during the summer, converted my McLean to electric and is dead quiet. I know wet mowing is the best practice. Should I knock the dew before I mow or just mow? If you have the time to knock the dew off, you can just mow it. The big negative when I used to do that, because I used to, much like you, Jared, mow early in the morning, is it makes a mess of the mower. So you need to rinse the mower off when you're done with it. And then also as far as if you are not mowing regularly enough, you can also have a few areas of like clumps of grass ending up on the lawn. So that's another thing. And as well as you tend to lose the edge on the reel faster when you're mowing wet grass versus when you are mowing dry grass. So just something else to keep in mind. So be sure if you're gonna be mowing only in the morning, be sure to check that reel to bed knife clearance more frequently, and make adjustments as needed so it still cuts paper across. This is just another thing to keep in mind if you decide you're going to only mow in the morning with dew on the lawn and not get rid of the dew before you mow it. Okay, Rad is giving us some more guidance on how he achieved that amazing, gorgeous KBG lawn. He says, I overseeded my lawn on September 3rd, would running my cordless Sunjo on the highest setting with the metal blade attachment scarifier, be advised this fall to groom the turf as the lawn is growing fast. Here's the thing, as long as you are staying out of the dirt, Ryan, that's what I would say, right? So if you what you don't want is to run that Sunjo, you set it up too aggressively to where it's getting into the dirt, because as beautiful as the lawn looks now, the root system of that lawn is not really established that well. So if you set the Sunjo up too aggressively, you can very easily tear the grass out. So if you're gonna do it, make sure it's set up, high. If you can get it, I normally say 2 to 4 millimeters over the surface. If you can go, 5, 6, maybe even 7 millimeters, or quite a bit to where that there's no chance of that blade getting into the soil, that would be okay. Again, just be gentle about it. And if you're looking for a way to thin it out just a little bit, that would be okay. The big thing I would beg you to avoid, though, is going too aggressive towards getting into the dirt, because that, again, given that that's relatively new grass, really easy for you to simply tear it out. We don't want to do that. Lawn looks beautiful as it is, and we don't want to to ruin all that beautiful hard work that you've been putting in. So hope that helps. Jared has another comment here. He says, Ron, I know I'm a try anything guy. You try anything, Jared? No, not you. I mean, you don't talk about yourself that way. That's not you. Never. He says, but with the liquid applications, I try to never over apply. That's a good rule to live by. I would also extend that to granular products too. You really don't want to over apply granular products either, but at least with liquids, we're starting. You got to start somewhere. So at least with the liquids, you're making sure that you're measuring properly and applying at the correct rates. If we can move that over to granular as well, good to go. All right, we have a question about prodiamine. It says, is the prodiamine 65WDG in the 5-ounce coming back? I believe so. It's probably not going to be this year, from what I understand. There's a manufacturing problem, and when it sold out in the spring, we haven't had it all season long. So your options are, if you can either get the 5-pound jug, which I know for most of you guys is like years and years and years and years and years worth of pre-emergent. So you could do this. That's an option. Or you could go with granular pre-emergent. So you can also get prodiamine to granular. That's another option as well. So those are what you've got to work with. If you really want the liquid, unfortunately, the 5-pound jug is all we've got right now. And if you want granular, that's an option for you to get less product, not as much of a financial commitment. And given that you asked about prodiamine, I'll link that for you here, so you can take a look and decide which one is best for you. Alrighty. Jared is back. He says, you could say, okay, TLC reference. You could say, I don't go making waterfalls. I just stick to the labels and the race that I'm used to. Oh, that's good. That's a first. So TLC in lawn care. All right. But this year I was a lot more conservative, and I think it paid off. Good. That's good, man. I mean, here's the thing when it comes to product applications, Jared. You can always put more down, but once you put it down, pretty difficult to take it out. So your best bet, really stick to the rates. And if you're concerned about your skill as far as applying it evenly, bias towards the lower end of the application range. Because again, you can always put more in. Kind of tough to get rid of it once it is there. All right, next up we got Tom Hoffenkamp. He says, happy Friday, y'all. Looking forward to overseeding the backyard this weekend. Dogs make it a requirement. I am planning to do the front this year, too, for the first time. Nice. But seriously, considering not. A tiny bit less mowing is actually sounding good. Right this 96 minute. So here's the thing I'd say, Tom. Your front lawn is not huge, man. And can you imagine? I wish I had a picture of it right now, but as beautiful as your front lawn is, I mean, look, here's some inspiration. Look at what Adam is working with. I mean, look at that. No, not that, not him. Look at sorry, what Ryan is looking at. Look at that, man. Your lawn is maybe a little bit, it's probably around the same size, maybe a little bit smaller than that as far as the front goes. You know, you could manage this. I believe if anyone can pull off an overseed on a smaller lawn, and still have it looking incredible, I know you can. But yeah, granted, I'm not the one that's got to mow it, so it's easy for me to say that, right? I understand. I understand your feelings on the matter. Really understand your feelings on the matter, but it would look good. It would look good, man. I will tell you, like Robert's lawn last year it was just nasty, man. As far as the color, it was just something else. So it was a beautiful sight to behold. All right, next up is Jared. He says, Ron, for fall fungicide, do you recommend applying while the lawn is still green, or can I wait until it's gone dormant? I would recommend applying it while it's still green. It doesn't really matter. Like the dormancy state of the lawn doesn't really weigh in, but really in October and November is what I find works well, Jared. So your lawn is likely not unlikely to be dormant at this point, this juncture in the season. So apply in October and then again in November. That's going to do a lot for helping prevent spring dead spot. If you have warm season turf grass, you got cool season turf grass, it's going to help you with snow mold and other diseases that tend to be a problem over the winter months. All of that is outlined in the calendar here on the Golf Course Lawn Store, Jared. So if you go to resources, lawn care schedule, and then monthly application schedule, you shall see that here in October, we mentioned the first fungicide application of Headway G or Pillar SC. And then in November, next month, your second application of Headway G or Pillar SC. And then that's pretty much it for the year until springtime. You know what I mean? That be it. So dormancy doesn't really matter. I would do one now, and I would also do one next month. That's what I recommend. It's what I do on my lawn. And ever since I did that, also coupled with reducing the amount of granular nitrogen, as far as granular fertilizer that I'm putting into the soil, it's done wonders for not having disease problems come springtime. So if you've not got your fall fungicide out yet, I would highly recommend doing so. Next up, Mr. Robert Rainey, the man, the myth, the legend, also affectionately known as that guy in the Golf Course Lawn Academy. He hath entered the live stream. What's going on, Robert? Hopefully all's going well with you, sir. I think you're a Knowles fan, right? So even though I think you live in Alabama, I guess you don't really care that they won and or lost. All right, next up is CB1VB says, hey Ron, at what temperature time should you stop using plant growth regulator? I'm in Northwest Atlanta. So in my case, sir, I stopped the beginning of this month. I did my last Primo a new application the beginning of October. If your lawn is still actively growing and you want to do an application in the middle of this month, I'm not going to be mad at you. It really depends on how your particular lawn is doing. If you're still mowing it regularly, there's still clippings coming off of it, and you want to reduce that rate, you can. If you have a cool season lawn, so one thing that's starting to look really nice this time of year are the fescue lawns in the area. So there's one of the big churches that's nearby here has fescue on their property, and it's looking gorgeous because it's starting to cool off. It's not being burnt to a crisp by the summer heat anymore. So if you had a fescue lawn and you wanted to use growth regulator, you're still good to go. You can still use that for another month or two if you wanted to. But for Bermuda, really, my last application was the beginning of this month, and then if you wanted to do one, this weekend, the middle of the month, that would be okay too. But pretty soon here, you're going to shut it down because the lawn just isn't going to be growing that quickly. So great question. Appreciate the question. Is a really good one, and again, it depends on you. It's not necessarily so much a temperature thing as it is a growth rate thing. And depending on the kind of grass you have, that's going to drive whether or not you want to continue using growth regulator or not. It's not going to hurt anything either way though. Okay, next up we have Jacob. Jacob is in the live stream. He says, hey Ron, I need to raise my pH by 1.5 points. Oh, that's quite a bit. Okay, so you're like at 5, and I guess you're aiming for like 6.5. I live in South Carolina with clay soil. I heard you need 100 pounds to raise 1 point per thousand square feet. Is this accurate? It's not that simple. It really depends, right, Jacob? So it depends on where the buffer pH is for your soil, meaning like where your soil just naturally likes to be, and then that can drive how much lime input you're going to need to be able to raise it. I don't recommend for people on residential lawns anyway to apply more than 40 pounds per thousand at any given time. So you could do a lime application on the heavier side of that. So anywhere between 20 to 40 pounds. In your case, you can go for like 40 pounds per thousand. Water that in heavily. If you wanted to do another application a month or so from now, that would be okay. And then, come February, March, do a soil test and measure your pH levels and see where they are. It does take a while for pH levels to show up in soil test results. It's not like fertilizer, like nitrogen, where you'll see that relatively quickly. pH can take a while to move, again, depending on where your soil just naturally wants to be. But 100 pounds at a time, I wouldn't recommend that. That's a bit much. I would do 40 pounds, and a month later, if you want to do another 40 pounds, that would be okay. Ensure that you water it in heavily, or time your lime application around when there's going to be heavy rainfall, enough rainfall to water it in. It's a great question. Now, when it comes to lime, you didn't ask about this, but while we're on the topic, when it comes to lime for raising soil pH, there are two major types to be aware of. So there's dolomitic lime and also calcitic lime. Depending on what your soil test results say for your magnesium levels, if your magnesium levels are optimal, going with a calcitic lime would be fine. And if you also need to, or if in the case where your soil test results show that your magnesium levels are low, you can go with a dolomitic lime, because while they both will raise magnesium levels, dolomitic lime has quite a bit more magnesium than calcitic. So depending, if you're looking to kind of boost that as well, look at your soil test results. It should list what your magnesium is, and if that needs a little kicker, then go with a dolomitic lime. Otherwise, calcitic will be fine. As far as cost goes, they're comparable. Not a huge price difference between them. So let your soil test results just drive which one is the best fit for your lawn. And again, I would do 40 pounds on the high end in one application. So 100 pounds at a time is a bit much. All right, next up is LTX Shep says, how much of a difference would there be if I use Spectacle G instead of Spectacle Flow? Thanks. I imagine they would both work well, LTX Shep. I've never used the granular version of Spectacle. I've only done Spectacle Flow, the liquid option. The cost per application is quite a bit less expensive using the liquid than the granular, so there is that. I imagine, though, the results are going to be similar. I imagine you're going to get a good result as long as you apply it at the rate specified on the label and water in properly. You should get a good result. Either one should perform well. Now, as far as the common question people will say, well, when it comes to fungicides, liquid or granular, the same thing when it comes to Spectacle. I mean, while liquid fungicides, granular fungicides, they both work well, the liquid is going to work a bit faster. Same thing when it comes to Spectacle Flow. The liquid version is going to get in the soil a bit faster than the granular will. So that's just a consideration. But if you don't really care about that, and the granular is a better fit due to maybe the size of your lawn or budget or whatever it happens to be, I wouldn't have any reservations on going with Spectacle G over Spectacle Flow if that's the reason why you want to do that. So I've not personally used it, but I have a hard time believing that it would not work well. All right, next up, Mr. Higgy Pop is in the live stream. He says, hello, Ron. Happy Friday. Cooler temperatures are here in Georgia. A lot is starting to slow down. Have a great show. Let's all hit the like button. It is free. Let's do that, guys. We got 87 people here in the live stream, only 79 likes. This is making me a sad lawn care live streamer. If you guys are enjoying the show, hit the like button. Costs you absolutely nothing. It is a free way to support the channel. Free. Costs nothing. Higgy says so. Free. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. Oliver Richam is in the live stream. He says, what's happening, Ron? Happy Friday. Temps have been in the 90s and 99 this weekend. It's still going in Texas. Good Lord, man. That is warm. But that's definitely not us here in Georgia. It has cooled off quite a bit. Quite a bit. Next up, we have Stephen Voss. He says, hi, Ron. What thanks for all the ongoing knowledge. What would be the advantage of applying Essential G versus Human Char over the winter to increase the CEC, the exchange capacity, overall soil health? So they're both excellent products. Humachar is compost and biochar, and then Essential G is compost, biochar. There is humate, there's silicon in it, there's reclaimed coffee grounds in it. So in my opinion, Essential G has a bit more going for it than Humachar. They're both excellent products though. It's like a better comparison, Stephen, between Humachar and Essential G. A closer comparison would be Humachar and Carbon Pro G. Like those two are very similar. Essential G is a different thing. It's a newer version of that product. So, either one will work well. I used Carbon Pro G in the past, had great results with it. I've never used Humachar personally, but I have no reason to believe that it would not work well too. Both products will help improve, if you're looking to increase the amount of organic material in the soil, improve the ability for your lawn to make use of nutrient, both products are going to work well. So whichever one is easier for you to get your hands on, feel free to go with that. I personally use Essential G, so hopefully that helps. All right, next up is Tom Hoffenkamp. He says, as a Yukon lawn owner, so guys, pay attention to this. Here's someone that did the whole overseeding, did the Bermuda lawn from grass seed, and this is what he's got to say. He says, as a Yukon lawn owner, I would vote for Tahoma 31 or Celebration or any hybrid. As a comparison, a school lawn nearby has Tifway 419 that is abused and ignored, and its texture feels superior to mine. So that is one of the big benefits of a hybrid Bermuda, is that leaf is going to be finer. The color depending on your eye, but the color tends to be a deeper color, deeper green. And the huge benefit is that if you're doing a renovation, you will literally go from no lawn to lawn overnight. If you decide you're going to do the grass seed option, then you're going to have some areas that grow in faster than others, because unfortunately, like Bermuda grass seed isn't like growing a fescue lawn or growing, a ryegrass lawn, or even KBG can be that way as well too, kind of like Bermuda. But a lot of the cool season grasses, it doesn't take a whole lot to get them to germinate, grow in, and fill in nicely. Bermuda is a lot slower, and a lot of times it doesn't happen evenly. So for that reason, along with just appearance, from an appearance standpoint, hybrid is just the way to go. I mean, it's the cost for doing sod for the hybrid Bermuda is not that much more than doing seed when you factor in that the watering requirements for seed are quite a bit more than if you were to go the sod route. So if I were doing my lawn over from scratch, like say I decided, I want some pain in my life, and I'm going to burn down my existing lawn and go, I'm going to redo it, I would be doing sod of some sort. I would not do the entire lawn from grass seed. It would be sod. So for whatever that's worth. All right, what up, though, is in the live stream. He says, what up, though, Ron? This is your Detroit hype man signing in. It's 40 degrees. Good Lord. Whoo! Forget that noise. It's 40 degrees in the morning and 70 in the evening here in Michigan. I do not like to see the lawn checking out, going dormant. Yeah, 40 already? Man, Lord. I mean, Detroit is fairly close to Canada. You're up there, but that's getting it. But yeah, man, it's going to happen. Start slowing down, cooler weathers, lawn slows down, less mowing, and eventually you'll be doing nothing but watching football until next spring. So enjoy the little bit of green you still got while you got it. All right, Jared is up next. He says, so PGR won't prevent the rye from coming in. I just didn't expect it because the backyard was showing more signs of dormancy than my front, which is expected as my back is shaded more. Now it's even. Yeah, so great question, Jared. If you apply plant growth regulator, like at least the ones that work via foliar uptake, so like a new EZ, Primo Max, so like these guys here, either of these or both of them, if you're boss, either like these guys, either one of these, if you have a lawn, let's just walk through it. You have a lawn that you scalp, like your Bermuda lawn, like what you did, right? So, but you've still got quite a bit of lawn there. You've got leaf still present. So you scalped your Bermuda lawn, you put grass seed out, and on that same day, you went out and you sprayed a new EZ and or Primo together, right? these products have to have leaf in order for them to be absorbed. So your Bermuda is going to take the product up, but the ryegrass, because it hasn't started growing in yet, is not going to be affected by it. So for that reason, you can use growth regulator as a tool to slow down your existing grass as part of a seeding project. Another thing to consider as well too is that the rates for ryegrass for primo are quite a bit higher than what they are for Bermuda. So even if you had a little bit of ryegrass beginning to grow in, the rates that you're using on Bermuda are low. They're really not. I'm not saying they're too low to be effective, but they're not low enough to get the regulation that that you would expect to get out of ryegrass that is being sprayed at the correct rates of growth regulator. So to answer your question, no, it's not going to prevent the ryegrass from coming in as long as you're spraying it at the rates that are appropriate for Bermuda grass. And if you're doing it like in the method that I just mentioned, where you scalp the lawn, you're spraying growth regulator, you're putting the grass seed out, then you're going to be just fine. Again, it's a use case for it is to slow down the existing grass as part of an overseed. All right, next up we have Mr. H. It says, good evening, Ron. Last week, I gave a viewer a recommendation about getting a repellent for squirrels digging the yard. The correct name for the product is Critter Ritter. That's a good name, Critter Ritter. So yeah, we'll for anyone that is looking for an option for getting or repelling squirrels from digging your yard, look up Critter Ritter. Is it available on Amazonia? Let's see here. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see, Critter. It's a great name. Yeah, Critter Ritter. So Critter Ritter, not Ritter. Or there's a couple different versions of it. There's a liquid version. There's a granular. Okay, I think this is the one you're talking about here. At any rate, this is the for any of the, if you look up Critter Ritter on Amazon, these are the links for it. So Critter, we'll call it that, Ritter. So good. Thank you so much for that, Mr. H. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming back in the live stream and sharing the name of the product. All right, next up is Andre Taylor. He says, would hydrotain or foreplay help in the area getting burnt by the sun's rays reflecting off the window? Not really, because that's just, it's like being hit with a magnifying glass, so that, is it gonna, would it help? Yes. Is it gonna prevent the grass from dying out? Unlikely. You know what I mean? Because that is just so much concentrated heat that it's unlikely that is going to stop it from causing the damage that you're seeing in the lawn. So if you're applying it across the entire lawn to reduce your watering requirements, yes. If you want to use it as a way to stop that problem, you can give it a shot, but I highly doubt that that's going to be enough to prevent that problem from manifesting from the damage being caused to the lawn from the light reflecting off of it. Okay, next up is Rashid Turner. He says, what herbicide do you recommend for a cold season overseed on Bermuda? Okay, so if I understand the question, Rashid, you're asking, you have a Bermuda lawn, you are overseeding it with, say, ryegrass. What herbicide would I recommend? It depends on what you're trying to control. Ideally, you really shouldn't have to use a whole lot of herbicide this time of year. If you did, I would go with a 3-way of some sort that is safe, that's label safe for use on both Bermuda grass and for ryegrass. So an option would be, if you go to the golf course lawn store and shop, and then weed killer, and I think here on page 2, we have a 3-way in the form of Triad Select. So this is what I would go with on a combination lawn of Bermuda and a cool season lawn like ryegrass or KBG, because this is label safe for use on both of them. And given the time of year, the temperature restrictions for that product, which is around 85 degrees, really aren't going to be a problem. So that is what I would go with. Now, if you have some other specialized weed that you're dealing with, like, you've got POA in your lawn, your options are going to be a spot spray. What I would say is you could spot spray you either pull the POA, or you can spot spray with just something like Certainty. Just knowing that you have to be really careful, because you are going to damage the cool season grass that it happens to get on. So a 3-way like Triad is going to be your best bet for like broadleaf control over a blended cool and warm season lawn. What I would not do is use a product that is strictly, especially say you have like a ton of weeds in your lawn, right? And you need to do a broadcast spray, which again, you really shouldn't have to. Let's say that's the case. You have to do a broadcast spray. Something like this, something like Triad is the where I would go. What I would not do is I would not use a cool season herbicide like Tenacity, and I would not use a warm season herbicide, turfgrass herbicide like Celsius, because you are going to damage. You're either going to damage the Bermuda or you're going to damage the ryegrass. So Triad is a good in between to to kind of cover both bases. It's not quite as good as Celsius as far as coverage for broadleaf control, but it fits the bill in the sense that you can use it on both grass types, and as long as you're sensible with the rates, not cause damage. So hope that helps, sir. The link there is in the chat if you decide you want to pick some of it up. And as always, if you're going to be using that product, use some surfactant along with it, spreader sticker, for best results. Okay, next up, we has Mars Bead in the live stream. She says, hey, Ron, my turf type tall fescue is germinating. Yay for that. Congrats. All the hard work's kicking in. I have no experience in lawn care and worked on preparing 2 areas of my lawn for renovation. I am so relieved. Otherwise, I would have had a nervous breakdown after all my work. So it's your first time. It's your first time doing it, and you're not sure, and you watch my channel, you watch my content, you read other articles on YouTube, you watch other people on YouTube, you think you got it all figured out, you do it, and then it's just like faith, right? And hopefully you got it all right. And I get it. It's almost like the first time, Mars B, to kind of go off on a tangent here, like the first time someone used a backspack sprayer, like for the first time when they switched to liquids in their program, right? Like they either start spraying a liquid fertilizer or they spray herbicides for the first time. And they double check they got the label here. They double check, they triple check the label. They make sure that they measures everything out properly. They've got the sprayer calibrated, and they're just really concerned. Hey, am I going to get this right? Am I going to mess this up? And then you spray the lawn, and you get the result that you're after, right? You either control the weeds or you spray fertilizer and you don't damage the lawn. So as you do this more, you're going to get better at it. You're going to get more confidence. So you got your first stripe. You got your first stripe on your shoulder. So you got your renovation done. It's only going to get better. You're going to get better at it as you do it more. So yeah, congrats. It's really, really cool. And I get it. After all the work you put in, if it didn't work out, it would be demoralizing. I could see that. So glad to hear that all your hard work is paying off, that your fescue lawn is growing in nicely. So just enjoy it. Enjoy your hard work. If you make mistakes along the way, realize it's part of the process, but at least you got this one right. So that's good, right? So keep going. All right, next up is Sizzler. It says, hey, Ron, I have rust on my zoysia lawn. Is it too late to apply a fungicide? It is not too late. I'm in Southeast Virginia. Day temps 70s, night temps still 60s. No, not too late at all, Sizzler, to apply a fungicide. We have a article on this topic of rust because some people are dealing with that. So what I'll do here, I'll show it to you. This is it right here. On the Golf Course Lawn Store. It's still on the first page, but so there you go. It's like right there, but I'll link it to you in the chat. In said blog post, it explains what rust is, contributing factors to it, like make sure you're overwatering your lawn, like stop doing that. And then also treatment options as far as fungicides. Like if you want a liquid, if you want too long, didn't read, Pillar SC if you want a liquid option, Headway G if you want a granular option. Either one of those are going to work well, coupled with you reducing the amount of watering that you are doing on your lawn. If you want to read that, it's a short read, and you got it right, Ciao. So hope that helps. All right, guys. All right, it's gonna be a short night tonight, which tends to happen. It's time of year. It's slowing down. I get it. RV18 is in the house. He says, evening, Ron. Ron, your thoughts on PEs with fertilizer for Bermuda lawns for the fall, winter. PE, pre-emergence? Is that what I don't know what PE stands for. Ron, your thoughts on pre-emergence with fertilizer for Bermuda lawns for the fall, winter. Yeah, so if PEs you're talking about is pre-emergent, yeah, I mean, as long as you're not putting out a pre-emergent that's got like high nitrogen in it, the ones that we carry tend to have potassium in them and no nitrogen, no phosphorus. So for example, if you were to look at our granular pre-emergence right here, if this will behave, let me go to a different tab. If you look at our granular pre-emergence on the golf course lawn store, let's go shop and weed killer and pre-emergent. And here we go. So either of these two, you'll notice they're both 007s, right? So there's no nitrogen, no phosphorus in them, just potassium. These I'd be fine with, both for a spring and fall pre-emergent. What I might be a bit leery about is if you had like a, fertilizer that has a nitrogen, like the amount of nitrogen in it is like 20+%. I mean, can you do it? Sure, but it wouldn't be my first choice for a fall pre-emergent. In the springtime, I'd be less, I wouldn't be as concerned about it. But for a fall pre-emergent on a warm season lawn, I'd be a bit leery with putting a bunch of nitrogen into the soil, later as you get later and later into the season. Spring, fine. Fall for warm season turf grass, not a huge fan of putting a lot of nitrogen into the soil. So to answer your question, pre-emergence with fertilizer, yes, as long as you're not, overdoing it on the end, especially in the fall apps. So hope that helps. RV18. Remember, I'm answering this question somewhat selfishly because I'm answering it from a perspective of a person with a Bermuda lawn, where if we do heavy nitrogen apps in the fall, you are creating conditions where you can set yourself up for spring dead spot next year. And there's not really, it'd be one thing if doing it had upside, but it really doesn't. Like if I go out and I go and do like a high nitrogen app to my lawn tomorrow, it's going to push some growth, but it's really not going to stop the lawn from going dormant. So you're creating, you're not solving the problem that you're trying to solve, and you're creating a potential for a pretty bad headache for yourself next year. So if you have warm season turf grass, I just really don't recommend it. All right, Mars B is up next with some more context. She says, I'm still working on seeding a long grass strip corner lot, and I'm seeing lots of little ants. What can I use for that? And can I use it on new grass seeds? Yeah, so you can use an insecticide, Mars Beads. So there is an insecticide. If it's not fire ants, you can use Advion, because there's two types of Advion. There's Advion, well, there's more than two, but there's Advion fire ant bait, which you didn't say fire ants, so I'm assuming they're not fire ants. And there's Advion insecticide, which controls ants other than fire ants and I think pharaoh ants. So depending on which one you have, and it sounds like they're not fire ants. So look up Advion, just Advion insecticide. I'll see if I can find it for you here. It is available in granular form if you wish. So I can find it here. I'm not sure if Amazon even has it. But yeah, that would be what I would recommend. I think I've got a link for it somewhere else here too. Give me one sec. I'm gonna dig it up for you. Advion insecticide. I think that's how I did it. That is how I did it. Cool. Yep. Cool. Yep. So here's a link to where you can pick that up. Mars Beads. I didn't see it on Amazonia. So if you are looking for something that you can use, this would be a good option. And yeah, you can use it on new grass. It's not gonna hurt anything. Make sure you apply it obviously at the correct label rates, but should be good to go. All right, we have another super chat. This one is from Mr. Rashid Turner. Thanks so much, Rashid, for that. I really do appreciate it.
Super chat.
He says, any maintenance on your real mowers during the dormant season? Is there a situation where the rotary is a better choice? I use the rotary on my ride for the first cut and it looks really good. Okay, so as far as maintenance on a real mower, once you are done for the season, it's a great time to get your oil changes done, if your reel needs like a fresh grind to get it all set up for the next year, especially if you're just putting it away and you're not gonna really touch the lawn during the off season, great time to get that done. Now is a slow time of year for shops that tend to do maintenance on lawn equipment, so you can get your mower in and out in not much time. Outside of that, a light coat of cooking oil, like take Pam or some other like aerosolized cooking oil on the reel, on the bed knife, just to prevent rusting, is not a bad idea either, depending on where you're storing your mower. But if it's kept somewhere cool and dry, that might not be necessary. But outside of that, just get the mower sharpened, change the oil, just wait for next year. One other thing I would say is if you are, depending on the kind of gasoline you run in your mower. So what I tend to do, I've tried it both ways. if you run your mower pretty often, which I do, you can run regular gasoline in the mower throughout the season when you're mowing a couple times per week. But at the end of the season, what I would recommend is switch to ethanol-free gasoline for, the last tank full or two. That way, if you leave that gasoline in the mower over this in the off season, you're not going to attract a bunch of water and have problems with startup and that type of thing the following year. That's the only other thing I would say. So you can add, you have like fuel stabilizers that you can add to gasoline with ethanol in it, but a better way to go is just to switch to ethanol-free gasoline on the last couple of tankfuls before you put your mowing equipment for the year. So, great question, Rashid. Really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat, and hopefully that gives you some good guidance for getting your lawn, your mower, your equipment all set for the rest of the season. And as far as the situation where the rotary is a better choice for scalping, so if you have like a Bermuda lawn and you let it get taller over the winter months, like going into the fall and into the springtime, and you want to do a scalp where you're cutting it down shorter, using a rotary mower for that, I am more of a fan of doing that than using a real mower. Like the replacement blade for a rotary mower is a lot cheaper than putting a lot of wear and tear on your real mower. On my lawn, a rotary mower really wouldn't do a whole lot given how short it is. Like if I ran a rotary mower at the lowest setting, it's not really going to take off a whole lot. So there's that. But yeah, if you have a taller lawn, at 2 inches or whatever, and whenever next spring rolls around, if you want to lower that height of cut to set up and get ready for transitioning to real mowing, then using a rotary mower for that work is a better choice than using your brand new real mower, in my opinion. So in that situation, rotary is a better choice. So hopefully that helps, Rashid. Again, thank you so much for the super chat. Need anything else, do let me know. All right. Next, we have Tillman Waters. Tillman Waters in the live stream. He says, I have Bermuda grass and the temperature is going to stay in the 70s and 80s. I'm going to overseed to ryegrass, annual ryegrass. Do I need any fertilizer or soil treatment? Okay, so a couple things, Tillman. Most people that do overseeds tend to do perennial ryegrass because appearance-wise, it looks better than annual ryegrass. So that's thing one. It's up to you whether you want to go forward with annual rye, your call. But most people do perennial rye. And then second, as far as soil treatments, yes, I am a fan of putting down a granular biostimulant, something like Essential G, something like carbonized PN. I'll actually show you here. If you go to Golf Course Lawn Store and go to Miramichi Green Biostimulants, either one of these. So Essential G is easier to spread. Carbonized PN is more of like a soil type product, so you're going to need to use like a leveling rake or a broom to kind of push it around and spread it out on the lawn. Either one will work well as part of a seeding project. So for biostimulants, Essential G or carbonized PN. For fertilizer, I would go with our complete 14714. This has a bit of everything in it: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, has some kelp, a bit of everything you need. It's also got a bit of micronutrient in there, so pretty much everything you need to be able to get your lawn, a brand new lawn established. So humic acid, kelp, and then your macros, pretty much everything you need as part of a seeding project. So that is what I would personally do. A complete fertilizer like our 14714, and then your choice of either Essential G or carbonized PN. A lot of folks tend to lean towards carbonized PN when they're doing seeding, but it really depends on how easy it is for you to spread the product, because obviously with that one, you're not going to be able to use a broadcast spreader. You need to use a broom or like a leveling rake to be able to move it around. So that's the link for the fertilizer. And then this is the link to where you can choose between carbonized PN and Essential G. Hopefully that helps. Straight Chillin' 53 says, applying a combination of tenacity and Celsius to my lawn, does it need to get watered in? Okay, so a couple of things, Straight Chillin'. I really wouldn't do that. So Celsius is a warm season herbicide. It's designed for warm season turf grass other than Bahia. And then tenacity is really designed for cool season turf grass, outside of like centipede. So you really wouldn't combine the two of them. As far as Celsius, you would never really water Celsius in. Tenacity, if you had a cool season lawn and you're using it as part of a seeding project, you could water tenacity in. So let's say tomorrow you're going to go overseed your lawn. and you want to also prevent weeds while you're waiting for the new grass to grow in. You could put out grass seed, you could put out tenacity, water the tenacity in, and that strategy could work well. But again, Celsius, there's not really a scenario where you would really ever water Celsius in. It's designed to be sprayed on weeds and allowed to dry. You don't really water Celsius in. So that combination really should never be used. I would not mix Celsius and certainty. I would not mix Celsius and tenacity. Celsius on the brain. I would not mix Celsius and tenacity. If you got a warm season lawn and you're trying to control weeds, Celsius is a great choice. If you have a cool season lawn and you're trying to control weeds, tenacity is a good choice. But the two of them really, I would not use them together. They're designed for different grass types. So hopefully you haven't done that as yet. Hopefully I've been able to pump the brakes on that one for you. All right, Stephen Voss says, let's see here. I got some kind of generic new from a kind neighbor, going to start with PGR next year. Will this stand alone or is Primo needed too? Does the lawn have to be near perfect before starting? I have Tifway 419. So here's the benefits of a new, is that it regulates more evenly than Primo does, in my opinion. So let's say you have, and what do I mean by that? Let's say you have a Bermuda lawn like what you have, a Tifway 419 lawn. And let's say you've got some common Bermuda in there. The rate for common Bermuda is about 3 times of what it is for hybrid Bermuda. So you can't really apply, or you shouldn't really apply the common Bermuda rate for Primo on hybrid Bermuda grass because you will damage it. And if you only use the hybrid Bermuda rate on common, you're not going to get effective regulation. So that's where a new comes in that if you use a new on a blended lawn, it tends to regulate more evenly. The negative to a new EZ is that it doesn't last quite as long. So that is where mixing a new and Primo together really creates this master concoction that just is a thing of beauty. Like I switched to it this year and absolutely love the results that I get with it. It's really, really good. And as far as rates you can use, like that blog post that I have that I linked in the chat earlier will tell you how to use that. Now, you said you have a generic and new. Remember, the rates for a new and a new EZ are different. So make sure if you're reading my blog post, make sure you're looking at, make sure you're using the correct product, right? Because the rates for a new and rates for a new EZ completely different. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. And is Primo necessary? Is it strictly necessary? No. Is it a lot better if you use Primo along with it? Yes. So I would. If you're going to do that, I absolutely would use a new EZ or use Primo along with a new EZ, and the results are spectacular. It's really, really good. Even if you have a lawn that doesn't have common in it, the results are really awesome as far as just the regulation that you get using the combination of the hexadione calcium and Primo, the Trinexapac, the Trinexapac ethyl. So they're both great growth regulators. They work really well together. You don't tend to get yellowing by combining them. There's really no negative to them other than the cost of having 2 growth regulators versus 1. But as far as appearance, thing of beauty. So here you go, Stephen. If you're looking for that blog post, if you weren't in the live stream earlier, and you're looking for where you can find that, this is it here. PGR blog post. This will get you. I didn't copy properly, so it didn't paste properly. All right, so here you go. That will get you all squared away. All right, and you said, sorry, I meant certainty and Celsius. Okay, yeah, certainty and Celsius. Now that combination, those two you can mix together and actually makes sense too. Still, you would not water them in. They are both post-emergent herbicides. They're designed to be sprayed on the leaf of the plant that you're targeting and allowed to dry. So you would not water in Celsius or certainty, or Celsius and certainty if you're using them together. In no scenario would you water them in. You spray them, let them dry, and let them work their magic. So thank you for correcting that, straight chillin'. All right, next up is John Smith. He says, for outlet mowers here in the USA, who's your point of contact for repairs? I have a 43. I've triggered the red level for blades, but only the rear drum would be engaged, moving the mower. I don't know. So it used to be Roland. I don't know if he's still the guy. or who the contact would be. I haven't had to contact Allet for anything on my mowers for I think the last time I reached out to Allet was to ask them what belt I should buy as a backup, as a spare for my my evolution 27. And they said, yeah, you're on a residential lawn with like 12,000 square feet. Don't bother. Don't waste your money. You're not gonna wear the belt out anytime soon. So I didn't buy one. So I don't have one. Roland used to be the guy. I don't know who the contact for Allet USA is now, though, John Smith. So sorry, I'm not more help on that one. I need to find out, though. It's a good screenshot. That's a good question. All right. Next up is Ruben. Ruben Texier. He says, do you bag leaves or mulch? They say mulch helps the soil. I don't do either because I don't have a lot of trees on the property that create a bunch of leaves. If I did have that, I would bag them because I bag the clippings. I don't want to blow a bunch of stuff into the lawn. I would more than likely bag them than mulch them. And yes, mulching does help put some nutrient into the soil, but it's like all things. It depends on how much we're talking about here. So because it's a common question, Ruben, there's actually a blog post that we did in August on this very topic: raking leaves or bagging, collecting your leaves, or mulching leaves, which is better for your lawn this fall. So if you're so interested, I'll give you a link to this blog post and you can check it out. And what you'll find is, the short answer is it depends on how heavy we're talking about. Like if we go back to the blog post, if you look at the lawn in the background where you see largely green grass, like if you wanted to mulch that into the lawn, I wouldn't have really a whole lot of heartburn about it. Now, if your lawn looks like what's here in the foreground, in my opinion, that's too much. So this, okay, that's too much. I would remove some or all of this before running the mower running the mower in mulching mode. So at any rate, I will link the blog post in the chat for you. You can take a look at that. It's a short read, and I think you'll get some value out of it. So mulch versus rake bag / bag leaves. So I hope that helps, sir. Great question. And the short answer is it really depends on how heavy you're talking about. I personally, if I had a bunch of leaves on my lawn, I would collect them. I wouldn't mulch them into the lawn. All right, Ryan N is up next. He says, hey, Ron, after the long fert ban in Florida, I took a soil test. Results were not what I expected. I just sent you the results. Never too late to start. Carbon kit applied October 1st. Best neighborhood lawn in 2025. Very, very cool, Ryan. See if I can find your soil test results. Yeah, so what you sent me, I don't have. Like you sent me an image, but it came attached as like image 0. It's the image didn't attach, Ryan. I see the text in your email, but I don't see the actual soil test, like the image for it. So if you want to resend it, please do so, and I will. If I can't get it on the show this week, I'll get it on the show for next week. We can talk through it. Because I got a bunch of text like what you're saying, but I don't see the actual soil test results. All right, next up is Ruben Texeria. He says, does the shoe aerate work? I've used it on my lawn and it was effective. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing. It's like if you're using the shoes, you're doing spike aeration, and it can be useful. It's not, of the two, I'm a fan of core aeration more so than spike aeration, but if you've got a smaller lawn and you want to use the shoes, that can work fine too, Ruben. I mean, with the shoes, depending on how soft like the soil is, that's gonna be a big dictator as far as how well it really works. Like on my Allet, I have their soil roller, which has spikes that are, I don't know, maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches long, about yay long. And that works pretty well as long as I have some weight on the front of the mower. Some of the spike shoes are at least that long, some of them even a little bit longer. So, again, as long as the soil is soft enough that the tines can actually penetrate the soil, should produce a good result. All right, Mr. H says, shucks, you said it right, Ron. Speech dictation failed me again. Thanks for saying that correctly. Critter Ritter, yeah. So I put the link in the chat for folks, but it's okay, man. I think the people will be able to figure it out. Folks will be able to figure it out. Madam's in the house, waving. Thanks so much. Thanks for stopping by to say hello. And the Trilla from Manila says, hey, Ron, and happy Friday. Everyone, the yard is holding its green and looking good with minimal effort. My type of party. I get it, man. Nothing wrong with that, right? Getting a lawn that looks good and you have to be out there working too long in it, too hard in it. There are worse things for sure. All right, Sizzler says, last question. I kind of doubt it, but I'll entertain it. He says, last question, Ron. At what temperature do you stop watering warm season zoysia lawn in the late fall or winter? So with my lawn, I have already cut down to 1 day per week. I was watering three times per week throughout most of the growing season during the spring and summer, and I'm down to 1 day per week. Next month, I'll likely shut it down. I'll likely turn off the irrigation. So we're about mid-October now. So the beginning of November, I will likely shut it down. After I put out my second application of Spectacle, that's when I will shut off my irrigation system, because the lawn by then should largely be dormant. Not going to be a whole need to regularly water it. So yeah, not really a temperature thing. It's more of an appearance. Like, it's pretty much saying it's going by, so I'm not going to waste water on it at this point. Next up is Rich70. He says, Ron, question. It is very dry where I am. I haven't had measurable rain in over a month. Also, low humidity and warm, windy days. So I'm concerned with continuing with growth regulator. Soil is 60. It really shouldn't have it shouldn't negatively affect the lawn, Rich. I mean, if you're sensible with the rates, if you're doing it the way I recommend, which is applying it at half rate, every couple of weeks, it really shouldn't cause a negative result. Now, given that you haven't had a lot of measurable rain, to your point, and there's not a lot of humidity, I imagine the grass isn't growing that quickly, so you may not even need growth regulator. So, it really depends on you. This summer was pretty dry here in Georgia, and I still didn't miss. Every 2 weeks, my lawn got Primo and a new Easy. I still use my growth regulator every couple of weeks, and there was not really a negative impact to the lawn for doing so. So I wouldn't imagine that you would have a problem either. So it's really up to you. If you don't want to apply growth regulator, you don't have to. But I have not seen any negative impact for applying it during times when there's less precipitation. Again, as long as you're being sensible with the rates, as long as you're sticking to the rates, you're not gonna have a problem. All right, and you said also I've been watering, but as you know, not as good as rain. Yep. So hopefully that helps, Rich. Really your call. It's really your call. If the grass is not growing very quickly and you want to wean it off PGR, no problem with doing so. Sister says, by the way, thanks for all you do, Ron. You're very welcome. I appreciate you taking some time out on your Friday night to come hang out here in the live stream. And then Mars Beat says, thanks. You are very welcome, Mars. And then Andrew Corte is up next. Says, hey, Ron, thanks for the advice you gave. I had a noxious weed in my Kentucky bluegrass, and I guess Noco, is that northern Colorado? He says, I went out and pulled some every day along with some green shoots, and problem finally solved after years and years, walking uphill in the snow both ways of battling. You have come out triumphant. Glad to hear it, Andrew. Glad it's worked out well for you. Next up is Progression Decibel. He says, Ron, missed the Real Roller Turf party. Hope it was good. It was pretty good, man. It rained quite a bit, but still good time. It was cool putting faces with names. He says, laid down Granular pre-emergent today, Bermuda incoming. With the temps we've been having, what would be the drop dead date for the last application of a balanced fertilizer? I would get it done now. I really wouldn't wait too much longer, Progression, because really you're applying it as like just to give the lawn some food as it's going into dormancy. You're not really doing it to try and push a bunch of growth and help stave off or stop the lawn from going dormant. So there's not a whole lot of reason, in my opinion, to wait. Like, if you are going to use, or you're going to winterize the lawn, you want to put out a fertilizer, I would get that done now. Like, October is when I recommend doing that, and then shut it down. Call it good for the rest of the year as far as granular fertilizer goes. There's no reason to try and time it to the very last second, because it's not like you're going to materially stop the lawn from going dormant by doing so. All right, Sovereign Designs says, I know worm castings are good, but it's getting excessive. Is there anything I can do for that fuel, also called rec fuel? Okay, so for worm castings, no, not really. I don't know of like an insecticide. I didn't even if there were, I really wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend that you put out anything to damage earthworms, because they are healthy. They're a good thing for the soil. And then for the fuel, You're talking about, yeah, the ethanol-free fuel is also called recreation or rec fuel. Yeah. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. Next up, okay, so we have, okay, so Ryan just sent his soil test results in. I got them, and you sent them in a PDF. I need it to be in as a JPEG, but that's okay. We have the technology. Thanks to the fine folks at, ooh, they changed that. You can't convert, huh? Yeah, I'll let's see if I can get this up here for you. Ryan, yeah, not sure if we're going to be able to convert this to a to an image. Maybe, let me see, export and change to a JPEG, and we'll save it there and go. Okay, so so you said you fertilized your lawn this year and you were a little bit disappointed with your soil test results, and these are said soil test results. All right, so right here. So yeah, I mean, your macros are definitely low. Looks like you got a lot of sulfur in the soil, but your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are low. So what I would tell you is this: given where you are, Ryan, whatever you are doing as far as the rates for the granular fertilizer that contain the for your macros, I would bump that up. I would increase that. So that's just this soil test data is telling me for both your macros and whatever you're using for micronutrient, I would bump those up a bit as well too. So long short of it is, I mean, this is one of the few times I'll actually tell you, hey, you need to increase the amount of granular fertilizer you apply because your soil test results are showing that. So what was funny is I had another viewer that sent me soil test results and they were similar, and they said their lawn looks amazing, it looks incredible, but they were saying, I'm not building up the nutrient levels in the soil, we're not really increasing. What do you recommend? I'm like, well, I mean, the lawn looked great throughout the year. That's good. If you want to build up the amount of phosphorus and potassium in the soil, then next year, if you're going to use the same program, just increase the rate slightly for your granular fertilizer, and then we'll just measure throughout the season and see how it's being reflected in your soil test data. That's really all you really can do. So I wouldn't be disheartened about it. I really wouldn't be, get too concerned about it. If the lawn looked great, that's the main thing. And with that data, you can adjust your program next year. So soil testing works, and it's serving its purpose, is giving you the data to be able to make good decisions as far as your nutrient program, which is what we're after. All right, JS Mees is up next. It says, I'm here in Georgia. I figure I have a few weeks of mowing left. When is it time for the last mow of the season? Should I mow it lower or my normal height? Great question. So whenever the lawn stops growing, you can stop mowing it. There's not a given day whenever I can say, October 17th, that's when you should stop mowing your lawn. It really depends on, the amount of sunlight your lawn is getting, and just when it starts to slow down and begin going dormant. So I agree with your assessment that we've probably got another few weeks, maybe a month of mowing still left here in Georgia for warm season turf grass anyway. And as far as lowering your height of cut, I don't. So, but keep in mind, I also maintain my lawn at 3/4 of an inch pretty much throughout most of the season. I start at like 5/8. I get up to 3/4 of an inch during the summer, and I leave it there until next spring, in which I start the process all over again. So I don't really change the height of cut on my lawn throughout the season. So what I would tell you is, if the height of cut that you're at is where you maintain the lawn, you want to leave it there. There's no negative for doing so. So hope that helps, JSMEs. I would not make any major height of cut adjustments this time of year to your lawn. And as far as when to stop mowing, it will tell you. Like whenever you go out there and you're out there for an hour or whatever mowing your lawn and nothing comes off the lawn, there's your answer. It's done growing. You can reduce the frequency or just shut it down altogether. I'm getting pretty close on my lawn. All right, let's see here. Rashid Turner says, is there any danger of using triad on young grass? Yeah, there's danger of using herbicides, any herbicide on young grass, which is why I don't really recommend it. So if you are using a herbicide, if you must use one on a newly seeded lawn, what I recommend for most folks is spot spraying. So if you got like a couple of areas where there's like a bunch of weeds growing, so there's not really the grass you want there and you're trying to control it, then doing some spot spraying for that is fine. What I don't really recommend is blanket spraying a newly seeded lawn, even if it's with a herbicide that is labeled safe for that grass type. So if you had a newly seeded Bermuda lawn, right? Like you were doing hard mode, you decided you're going to grow Bermuda from grass seed, and you decided that you wanted to go out and blanket spray Celsius. Not a great idea. I mean, Celsius, as far as herbicides go, is one of the more gentle ones. Like you're pretty unlikely to damage the lawn as long as you stick to the correct rates, but I still don't recommend it. Like even though a herbicide is labeled safe for use on, a warm season grass type or a cool season type grass type, it is still a stressor to the plant. So just because Bermuda tolerates it pretty well, it still does stress it slightly. So I wouldn't do that on a brand new lawn. And what you tend to find on a brand new lawn is typically not necessary. Again, at most, spot spraying here and there is what you should be doing. Blanket sprays really shouldn't be necessary. So I hope that helps, Rashid. Same thing with Triad. If you're going to be putting out Triad, I would do a spot spray as needed. Your best bet is really just to pull the weeds manually, but barring that, just spot spray. Okay, Hill Green says, hey, Ron, is it a good idea to scalp the lawn in the fall and before winter starts, cool season grass? So for cool season folks, it depends on how high your grass is. Some folks tend to report they have less issues with disease if they lower the height of cut of their cool season lawns a bit before winter sets in. I don't have a cool season lawn, so I can only go off of what some people have told me when I've also read. So as far as drastic height of cut changes, again, my answer would be no. If you want to lower the height of cuts slightly, especially if you live in a part of the country where you're going to have a lot of snow, so the lawn will be covered for a large part of the year, reducing the height of cut can help reduce the likelihood of you having disease problems. So a little bit okay, but I wouldn't make any drastic changes to the height of cut. For warm season turf grass, it's not really necessary. All right, next up we have Nick Barnes. Nick Barnes is up. He says, hey, Rob, following up on the turf type tall fescue, I followed everything to the T. I dethatched, added soil amendments, added topsoil and peat moss, watered regularly with mostly good weather outside of a few heavy rains. I don't know, man. I mean, if you did all the prep work, if you did all the things right, and the lawn was getting adequate sunlight, because you're saying mostly good weather, like it should have germinated. Assuming the grass seed you got was good, then you should have gotten some decent results. Because I mean, turf type tall fescue is not a terribly hard grass seed to grow. So if you got no germination at all, I might start questioning maybe the grass seed you had some problems with it. I mean, if what you're saying is true, where you did everything else right, and the conditions were right, and you're watering properly, and you got no germination, it could be the grass seed. Maybe try a different brand of different brand or different batch of seed and see if you get better results with it. Because the things that you're recommending there, the soil amendments, the preparation work, adequate watering, good conditions, enough sunlight, all that kind of stuff. If all that lines up, then the only thing that's really left is the seed, right? So hopefully that helps. I mean, if you still got time of season to go out and try again, maybe consider switching to a different brand or batch of grass seed. All right, Jason Chirk, and actually you have a follow-up here. It still died, but only in spots where Bermuda died, went dormant. Those spots also have the gravelly material a few inches deep. Okay, so it germinated and then it died. So, I mean, are you certain you were watering it enough, Nick? So it sounds like it germinated, but then it died off. So, I wouldn't think the Bermuda would cause that, because again, people overseed Bermuda all the time with like ryegrass, and that works great, even as Bermuda is going dormant. So I wouldn't necessarily attribute the Bermuda going dormant to your seeding project failing. The thing I would point to, I'll put it this way: most seeding projects, the majority of them fail due to inadequate watering. So you may think you were watering enough to keep the new lawn alive, but if you were not, and especially if temperatures were higher where you are, that is what could have caused you to lose the lawn, lose the fescue that you were trying to grow in. So if you're going to try it again, I would consider increasing your watering, maybe adding another cycle or increasing the runtime of the cycles that you do have going to see if that helps with you getting a better result the next time around, because it sounds like it germinated and then it died off. So it kind of leads me to believe that maybe just there's some kind of conditions, and for most people, it's inadequate watering that causes seeding projects to fail. And you said there's gravelly material a few inches deep. Yeah, I mean maybe, but we're talking what? I mean, even if you have like 3 inches, 3 to 4 inches of good soil, that should be enough to get that fescue to grow in and do okay. So again, I'm going to point the finger at probably inadequate watering. That would be my guess, since you said it germinated and then it died off. All right, next up is Jason Cherkas. He says, is there a product that will treat and prevent moss? I have an area that has it bad around this time of year. Yeah, so Jason, so when it comes to preventing moss in your lawn, what I would tell you is the best way to control moss is to work on fixing the conditions that lead to moss. So what tends to lead to moss? If you have a soil that tends to be more acidic, if you have heavily shaded areas, and if you have an area that does not drain well. So if you have rainfall and it stays wet and damp, there's not a lot of sunlight, heavily shaded, and if the soil pH tends to be a bit low, so the soil is more acidic, all those conditions, all those factors create conditions where moss tends to thrive. So while you can use products, like I think Scott's makes a product that will control moss, if you don't fix the conditions that are causing it, it's just going to come back. So what I would tell you is, look at that. If you can do a soil test in the area, do that and see if maybe you need to do an amendment from a standpoint of adding more lime. If there's not a lot of sunlight reaching the area, do something to fix that if you can. I mean, in some cases, some people have these kinds of problems like right up against the house, in which case there's not a whole lot you can do about that. If the area doesn't drain well, if you can recontour it or do some, this time of year might not be the best time of year to do that, but if you can do some way to help with that drainage to help water not stay there, that could help reduce it. Because if you don't do this, if you don't do something to correct the conditions, you're just going to be doing this over and over. But again, with all that said, a product you can use to get rid of lime, but again, if you don't do something about the conditions, it's more likely just going to come back, is a product from Scott's called Moss X. So I will... here, I'll give you a couple options, because there's granular options and there's a liquid option. So I will just give you a link to where you can find both, and then you can decide which one is best for you. Get rid of moss. There you go. So hope that helps, sir. And again, this time of year, it's cooler. We're getting more rainfall, and if you pair that with lack of sunlight and perhaps poor drainage, that can create conditions for moss to be a thing. So I would look at improving the drainage if you can and seeing if that helps. All right, we have a super chat here. This one is from Mr. Ryan N. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Super chat received.
He says, so thanks. So if I use the complete 14714, what pounds per thousand would you recommend to boost the macros? The grass did not look good at all this past year. I had to plug a few areas and fight weeds all year. So between 5 to 6 pounds per thousand is where I would go, Ryan, if you're really trying to raise those levels. So I say go to between 5 to 6 pounds per thousand and see how that works for you as far as seeing a good response, and also just seeing what's reflected in your soil test data. That is what I would I'd recommend. So again, thank you for the super chat. Just try bumping that rate up, and again, it should help things. Again, 5 to 6 pounds is going to be higher than the rate we normally recommend, which is around 4 pounds per thousand. So hope that helps, sir. Next up is Progression Decibel. He says, actually, that's not for me. It's a sidebar. Next up is Evan. He says, hi, I asked this question last week, but couldn't stick around to hear the answer. Living in South Florida, which grass out of St. Augustine or zoysia will do best in lower light? They'll both be okay. Zoysia would be my choice. If you have a more shaded area, they both need sunlight, but given the choice between the two, I would opt for Zoysia personally, Evan. Next up is Matthew Whitson. He says, I currently have common Bermuda and would like to change to hybrid. What steps and time of year would you recommend for changing? Thanks. Great question, Matthew. So if you have common, you want to get rid of it, you're going to want to do a complete renovation. What I would use is a combination of glyphosate and Fusilade. That will burn down the common Bermuda lawn pretty well. It'll do a pretty good job of it. And then when you decide to go in and replace with sod, I would aim to do this in the springtime. I wouldn't do it now because really for glyphosate and Fusilade to work well, the grass needs to be actively growing, and this time of year is not the time of year to really do that. So I would say April time frame would be a good time to take on this task. Again, glyphosate by itself does okay. Fusilade by itself is okay, but really the mixing them together, glyphosate and Fusilade, that combination, money. It's magic for getting rid of Bermuda grass. So I would do that. I would blanket spray along with that. Let that die off. It is going to take 2.5 weeks or so before the lawn is gone. I would do that, and then you could bring in whatever sod that you're looking for. Keep in mind that it's pretty difficult to get rid of Bermuda permanently, even common Bermuda permanently. So don't be surprised if in, a year, 2 or 3 down the road, you may have some common breakthrough here and there. But that combination, I've used it in some sections in my mulch beds. And in those areas, I have not had Bermuda grow back in those spots. Like I have not, outside of what's like encroached from the lawn in there, I haven't had any more come back in. So it's a really good combination, not the cheapest, but it works really well. So if you're looking to get that, if you go to the golf course lawn store and then go to weed killer, Fusilade, you can get right here. And then if you're looking for a glyphosate product, we have the Roundup Quick Pro packs, which have both glyphosate and diquat in them. So this is between those two, that's really going to burn down the Bermuda grass. So hope that helps, sir. You can get them both there. I'll send you a link to that section of the store where you can pick that up if you so desire. But again, I would not do it this time of year. I would wait till the springtime. So here you go. Gly and Fusilade Fusilade 2. Cool. All right. Dwayne T says, given your website name, do you play golf? I don't play golf anymore. I used to in the 2000s. I used to play a lot of golf. But I don't this not much anymore because I don't have time. I don't make time for it. I should say I don't have time. I don't make time to do it. And the reason for the name of the business, the Golf Course Lawn Store, because that's what we aim to create, right? Golf course, like quality turf grass at home. So that's the reasoning behind it. Doesn't really have anything to do with me playing golf. I still got my Mizunos in the garage, but I don't really play anymore. Don't make time to do it. Golf is one of those things that to be proficient at it, you really have to make time to do it regularly. And because I have like conflicting priorities, I got other things that I'm working on that I value more than being good at golf. I don't really play golf as much anymore. So there you go. Rashid says, I did a leveling project earlier this year and I am noticing a lack of germination in sandy spots. Is there any recommendations for these spots? Try again. I'd say try again. Like put down some kind of a rich organic material, compost, carbonized PN, like either one of those would be good. And then make sure you're putting you're watering adequately, Rashid, because a sandy soil is going to dry out a bit faster. It's going to pull water away from the surface faster. So make sure that you're keeping up with your watering in those areas to ensure that the grass has enough moisture to germinate and establish properly. All right, so we have a super chat from Mr. Luis Ayabareño. Thank you so much, Luis. I appreciate that.
Super chat received.
He says, good evening. Joining late tonight. Lawn is slowing down, but hoping to mow and put down products tomorrow. Have a good weekend. I appreciate that, Luis. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Have fun working on the lawn tomorrow. Be safe out there. And next up is Charles Westmoreland. He says, greetings, Ron from Northern Virginia. I have reseeded my lawn. Here we go. after reseeding my lawn, when should you go back to a regular watering cycle? I'd say when you start mowing it, Charles. When the lawn is established well enough that you're comfortable to get out there and start mowing it regularly, then you can begin backing the watering down. That is what I would do. Here's the thing: this time of year, it's a bit less critical than if you're doing it in the springtime, because in the spring we are going from cooler temperatures to a lot hotter temperatures. This time of year, you're going from warm temperatures to cooler temperatures. So if you reduce the watering, like the lawn's not going to dry out quite as quickly as if you were to do a seeding project, say in the springtime going into summer. So you've got a bit more leeway. If you want to back off the watering a bit sooner, you could, but really a good measurement is when you start mowing the lawn, you can start reducing the watering. You can start backing it down to what you normally would run for your irrigation cycles. All right, next up we have Rad 1986. He says, would you recommend doing a second application of tenacity on my overseeded lawn, one app at the time of seeding? And since I level with 70-30 mix, I'm noticing some weeds now. I would not. So you do your tenacity application at the time of seeding, you water that in and let that ride. You are going to notice some weeds come in, I guess given either the compost or just time. And I would just wait. I would just either pull the weeds manually or wait for the lawn to establish and then get rid of them then. I mean, it's really tough to have it all at once, to have everything that you want all at once. And bare dirt and weeds tend to go hand in hand. And I would not want you to go out there and apply or spray tenacity on brand new grass and take the chance of potentially injuring it. So personally, you did it right. You applied it as part of your seeding project. I would let the new grass establish, pull the weeds manually if you can. And once you start mowing it regularly, if you still have a few clumps or a few areas here and there where the weeds have really taken over, then you can spot spray. I would at no level would I recommend blanket spraying a brand new seeded lawn. Can you do it and get away with it? Possibly, but it's not worth the risk. Like all the time that you put into it between the prep work, the grass seed, and everything else, it's just not worth it, in my opinion, to blanket spray the lawn with herbicide when it's brand new. So hope that helps, Rad. And our last comment of the evening, this comes from Instagram. A Train Walker says, "Great Friday evening, Ron. I've got common Bermuda lawn I'm trying to reel in, trying to get it under control. At least 4 different kinds of weeds interspersed. What do you recommend as a course of action starting now?" So depending on the weeds you're trying to control, A Train, you can control weeds in a Bermuda lawn this time of year, especially if there are weeds that tend to thrive with cooler temperatures. So as far as the go-to for cleaning up weeds in a Bermuda lawn, we have a herbicide kit on the golf course lawn store for warm season turf grass, our Celsius Certainty kit. Like, this is an awesome kit. Like, tons of people use this. They have great results with it. And as the general rule is, as long as the weed that you're trying to control is actively growing, this will work. You've got Celsius, which is for your broadleaf weeds, Certainty, which is for your grassy weeds and sedges, and then Dye to be able to see what you've sprayed, and then the surfactant to ensure that both products work as good as possible. Like, this is what I'd recommend as a go-to on warm season turf grass for controlling weeds. The nice thing about Celsius and Certainty as well is that they work over a broad temperature range. So if you have weeds that you're trying to control in the summertime, you can use both these products as temperatures are warmer and still get good control while minimizing injury to your grass. If you go with something like a three-way, like Triad or any other three-way product, you got any 2,4-D product with 2,4-D in it. You have to be really careful, especially as temps get over 85 degrees. Whereas Celsius and Certainty, neither of them really have any label temperature restrictions. As long as you are sensible with the amount of surfactant that you're using with them, you can spray them over a broad range and get really good results, which is why I recommend this kit so much for folks that have a warm season lawn and are looking for, if you had to have something on the shelf that will take care of pretty much any weed you're going to have in, a warm season lawn, outside like Dallas grass, this would be what I would go with. So I'll link it in the chat for you so you got it. And can you use it this time of year? Absolutely. If the weeds that you're trying to control are actively growing now, then it can absolutely work. And yeah, that's what I recommend. Well, guys, gals, it looks like we have come to the end of our questions. So on that note, I will cue the outro music. Thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your Friday evening to come hang out in the live stream. Really does mean a lot. Next week's live stream, I will, it might be on Thursday night. I have to see. I think it's got to be Thursday night instead of Friday. I may have a commitment Friday night that I can't really get out of. So likely it'll be Thursday next week. You'll know because I'll just schedule it early. I'll try and get the live stream scheduled either Monday or Tuesday next week, so you guys will know ahead of time whether it's going to be on a Friday night or a Thursday night. As always, thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your Friday evening to come hang out, talk about lawn care, ask lots of great questions. Hope you guys got some value out of it. As always, on the Golf Course Lawn Store, we've got your assortment of fertilizers, pre-emergents, herbicides, insecticides, all the stuff you need to create the lawn that your neighbors will absolutely envy. So feel free to go there, support us. As always, again, thank you guys for everything. I'll see you guys next weekend. Have an amazing, amazing evening, weekend, whatever you plan on doing in your lawn. Take care.